Hello, friends. Thanks for tuning into the Doing Virtue podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Christ, and tonight we have with us Ben Ferri. I'm going to read his bio real quick, and then we're going to get into it. So, courtesy of ChatGPT, here we go. Ben Ferri is a seasoned real estate professional and associate broker specializing in both residential and investment properties here in the Shenandoah Valley and in the Northern Virginia market. In addition to his real estate career, he is actively involved in local civics matters, speaking at the Front Royal Town Council meetings and advocating for smart growth, and development that align with the town's comprehensive plan. His involvement reflects a dedication to thoughtful community planning and sustainable development. He's also the leader and founder of a local men's networking group called Artifex, which is a leadership development organization dedicated to empowering Catholic men by integrating faith with personal, professional, and community life. Their mission is to cultivate leaders who influence culture through authentic Catholic values. Most recently, he has partnered with Francis Real Estate Group, where he will utilize his deep local knowledge and commitment to real estate to build lasting relationships with clients, emphasizing a service beyond the sale. For those seeking a knowledgeable and client-focused real estate team, Francis Real Estate Group offers a perfect blend of local expertise and personalized service. Ben resides here in the Shenandoah Valley with his wife, Monica, and their 8 children. How's that?
Wow.
It's pretty good, huh?
It's pretty interesting what ChatGPT comes up with.
The only thing that I had to prompt it on was it didn't know what Artifex was. And then I said, please include information about, and I put in the website, and then it just gave that little paragraph, which was odd because I felt like that was the thing. I thought that would be one of the only things it would come up with would be Artifex, because you have a website,
right,
and there's a LinkedIn. So yeah, but other than that, was it fairly accurate?
Only one correction.
Okay.
Which is, I'm not actually the founder of Artifex.
Okay.
So I will give a shout out to the actual founders.
So who are the actual
give them
founders?
some credit. So it was actually a group of 4 guys.
Okay.
Who started it. I think it was like back in 2010, 11. Yeah. Local guys started it, and then they all kind of broke off from it, and
and then you cashed in the big money.
Yeah, I cashed in the big money. Yeah, it's mine. They'll be coming after me at some point.
Well, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah,
nice to have you here.
Thanks for inviting me. This is fun.
Yeah, it's a big day for the Catholic Church, and really for the world. We have a new Pope, Pope Leo the 14th. Yeah, first American Pope, which is why we are drinking wine tonight. And I figured what we would do is drink wine in honor of the Italian culture and church that we're celebrating, and then later we'll break out the bourbon to celebrate the American Pope. So,
I think that's very
the best of both worlds. So, cheers.
Cheers. And this is real Italian wine.
That it is. Yeah, I was in town. I was leaving work, and I was like, all right, what should I get? I should probably get wine, but it's kind of hard to find real Italian wine. There's, Martin's has a few options, but I've had most of those. Like, what's something that Ben would like? I don't even know if he likes wine. He probably does. And then I texted Biagio, who's been on the show, and I was like, hey, I know you're not open yet, but do you happen to have Italian wine? I want to celebrate the Pope, and I'm having Ben Ferri on. And he was like, yeah, I know what he drinks. And I was like, perfect. So I went there, and he's like, I'm pretty sure he drinks this. And I was like, all right, well, a lot is riding on this. Sounds like he made the right call.
Very accurate. I'm like, wow, Biagio actually recognizes I do go there a lot.
You do?
That is our go-to Italian restaurant. Well, not just Italian restaurant, our go-to restaurant, because it's the closest one to our house. Mm-hmm. So if we want to shoot out for a quick date and get back without the kids falling apart.
Without them noticing.
Yeah, without them noticing.
We have 1 hour before the movie's over.
That's where we go. So
nice. And you also go there for Artifex, right? You take your clients there typically?
Yeah, we usually take the speaker and our sponsors out to dinner at Osteria's.
Yeah, we should have coordinated last time because I had Father Lumberg on, and we were going to do the day before, which I had purposely coordinated so that I could go to the Artifex talk because I was like, oh, this guy knows about Father Capodanno. My dad was involved in the cause. This sounds awesome. I haven't, it's been a while since there's been one. I really want to go. And then Father texted me. He was like, I have to do Wednesday. Someone from the diocese has to come to monitor the conversation. That's the only day they're free. If we don't schedule now, it'll be August. I was like, all right, fine. So we sit down, and then you guys all walk in, and I was like, man.
Yeah. As soon as I walked in, I was like, wait a second. No wonder Father didn't text me back, because I'm always texting him saying this is
trying to get him to come.
But normally we do it on a Thursday night, so it was kind of my bad as well.
That's okay.
Changed it to Wednesday.
That's okay. It's hard. I'm sure it's hard to book people that far out.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's impossible. Even with this show and people locally, you'd be surprised how hard it is. Well, actually, you probably wouldn't be surprised how hard it is, but just with people's schedules, like one of my neighbors, and it'll be like, oh yeah, I'm not free for 2 months. You're like, 2? Are you kidding me? Like, come on. So I think what I need to start doing is I tell people that we have a drink on the show. I think what I need to start telling people is that I'm going to give them the bottle afterwards, or like a little bit more of an incentive. I don't know if that'll work, but I feel like offering to give people free stuff helps.
Yeah, having a drink on a podcast, that's pretty inviting.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here, right?
Hey, I don't blame you. I also have a gift for you. You're going to have this wine when we're done. That's yours. But I bought you a Oliva Series V cigar to celebrate the new Holy Father. Whenever you're bound and determined to do it is more than fine with me, just not right now because we can't smoke in here.
Something like this is definitely a planned occasion.
Yeah, right. Are you a cigar guy?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I do enjoy them, but I don't really smoke them very often.
Okay.
So
it's just occasions.
I have to plan for that. This is going to be in my hand for a while.
Make sure you eat plenty of water. Yeah, for sure. All right. So the bio was fairly accurate. The one thing it didn't mention, which I guess I shouldn't be surprised by because there probably isn't much online about this, but you're from Canada originally. Mm-hmm. And I thought maybe it would mention something like that. But where in Canada are you from?
So, well, I kind of moved around. So,
okay.
I was born in a small city called Kingston, Ontario. So I'm the 7th of 14 kids. Dad was a doctor, army doctor. And my mom's a lawyer. And so that's where I was born. And then he was posted immediately to Ottawa. So my toddler years were Ottawa, Canada, so the capital. And then when I was about 4 years old, he was posted out to an Air Force base out in Cold Lake, Alberta, which is exactly how it sounds. Very cold and lots of lakes.
Well named.
So that was my like childhood experience, was out in the middle of what a lot of people would consider tundra. It was freezing cold, frigid, all the way up till I was about 12 years old. And then we moved back to just outside the Ottawa area, Shenandoah Valley. And so that was my Canadian experience.
Did you have a preference out of the places that you lived? Was there a favorite?
Yeah, I would say definitely Ontario. Like our family's from Ontario. So, I mean, it's just, there's, what I grew up with in my childhood out in Alberta was a lot of lakes, and I loved that. That's what I miss here. But it was like frigidly cold most of the time.
Yeah. So mostly the Summer Lake experience?
Yeah, the Summer Lake experience, like we could go swimming, even though it was still pretty cold in the middle of June. Whereas in Ontario, it was like cottage country, so you could actually experience a full summer, and there were big trees.
Sure,
there were more than
there was life.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, is that where Peterson is from? Is Ontario, or is he from somewhere else?
Yeah, I think he was born in Alberta.
Okay, yeah, that sounds right.
Ended up in,
because I know I want to say he was either born. Yeah, because I think aren't the Jansons also from the area that he was originally? Because I know he moved to Toronto or taught at Toronto.
Yeah, this gets into another whole spiral.
Oh, really?
Which I could go way deep in. But
yeah, go as deep as you want.
When I was growing up in Ottawa, so my toddler years, we went to this parish that doesn't exist anymore. But the Jansons were there. So the Janson family was there. A McNeely family, you probably heard of McNeely's. Yeah. We were all friends. So I remember like Sebastian Jansen, he was a year older than me. And we were all friends in that community and that parish. The Jansons had come from a place called Drayton Valley, Alberta. So after a few years, we moved away. We kept in touch. Then they moved to the States. And we never actually we all kept in touch, but we never actually lived in the same area until I moved back here. And now all the Jansons are here and I'm here. But my parents then ended up moving during COVID all the way back out to Alberta, to Drayton Valley, Alberta, which is where the Jansons were from. So it's just this funny circle.
That's really cool.
Us like meeting each other over years and years, bypassing or.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similar connections with my in-laws, because they're originally from Lincoln, or some of them lived in Lincoln, and so they were friends with the McNeelys, who were originally from Canada, who knew the Jansons. So now we're here, the Jansons are here. So it's like my in-laws knew them from way far back, and then my family, my direct family, knew them through Christendom. So like I knew the Jansons through both sides, but I didn't realize that both sides knew them. So yeah, it's just interesting.
You just reminded me of the fact that we're going to be.
Oh, true. We're going to be related.
soon.
Yeah. So let me get this right. So your wife's younger sister's husband is my wife's younger brother.
Yeah.
Will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah. The dynasty continues.
It does.
Yeah. That'll be a fun wedding.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great.
Are you going to come hang out with the
everyone's
guys?
Super stressful on her side of the family right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, weddings.
Sure. Yeah.
Stressful on some people.
Our house is the place to party. I hear,
Really?
in the shores.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because we're nearby the Briggs, but we're not party central, or wedding central, I should say. So we're party central. Yeah, right down the road.
Well, I mean, it depends because my wedding was in the same location
Okay.
almost 20 years ago now, and I mean, we left probably around midnight or something like that. But
Okay.
we heard like people were there till 5 in the morning.
I'm not going to
So
be
I
there
don't
till
know
5
if
in the
that's.
morning.
I'm not going to be there till 5 in the morning. No, but
I'll make it to like 2. Yeah,
I think
I can do
my
2.
in-laws will be very happy to hear if you have
Yeah,
the after party.
continue. Yeah, I think
not
a lot of Kathleen's in-laws will be in town, and we're so close. So I think between the wedding mass and then the actual reception, a lot of people will be coming over. Like
Nice.
change or I don't know, have a drink.
Convenient.
Yeah, just in the air condition for a bit before you go out to the sweltering heat. Although it might be a nice day, who knows? But it'll be cool. So you also got married. Did you get married at Christendom, or were you in town?
No, we got married at St. John's, and
Okay.
then we had the reception at her parents' house.
Have all the girls had their receptions there? Has that been like a big family?
Well, only
tradition?
2 of them gotten married there.
Oh, true.
Only 2 are
So
married.
so two.
Yeah.
Both of them did though.
Both of them both of them
Okay.
had their receptions there.
Okay.
Natalie, the youngest, is getting married this summer, but her reception will be somewhere else. So,
Bad omen.
I know. It's like,
That's funny. How did you hear about Christendom, or like what brought you to move locally?
So I went to an all-boys boarding school, which is now called Gregory the Great Academy.
Mm-hmm.
It was St. Gregory's Academy when I went. And 2 of my older siblings, sisters of mine, went to Christendom while I was there. I can't remember how they heard of it, but definitely a bunch of the Greg's guys heard about it and were going there.
Yeah.
And that's why I ended up coming. I didn't actually go straight out of high school. So I went back to Canada after high school. And then I went to a community college and I did a law enforcement course for 2 years. It was a community college. And then decided to go to Christendom, and that's when I moved down. So I was like 2 years later, I came to Christendom after my class from St. Greg's had gone. But yeah, I think I had heard about it through like my siblings and being at St. Greg's.
What was the law enforcement thing? Was that just like you didn't know what you wanted to do, and so that
No,
was
I really
option,
wanted
or?
to be a cop.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I knew I was going to go join the Army because I really wanted to do that, and I wanted to eventually be a cop. So
Okay.
that's why I did the law enforcement course, and that kind of prepped me for applying to be a cop. But then I decided I wanted to go to Christendom first, and met my wife and promptly left. No, but so I only spent a year at Christendom.
Okay.
Ended up going back to Canada and joining the Army, and also did school up there. So I finished my degree up there at Carleton University. Joined the Army. We got married. And we lived up there for about 5 years. And during that time, I was like very set on, being a cop. So I had several applications out, and one was to this law enforcement agency in Peel region, which is in Toronto.
Okay.
And we realized right away, like, we don't want to live
Nah.
in Toronto, and we don't want to raise a family in Toronto. And I
don't know anything about Toronto. Is that like the equivalent of like New York City?
Yeah, kind of like
a
New York City. It's a really big, sprawling metropolis, essentially. So no community, like for us.
Yeah.
The closest community, like a small, percentage of Front Royal was like 2 hours away. So I was like, well, let's just live there and I'll commute 2 hours. I don't know what I was thinking, but I realized like at some point I had to make a decision. I was like, we're either going to live where we're going to raise a family, or we're going to live where my job, like so I realized, I have to make a decision. So family's first. And that's when the opportunity to move down here opened up. So I ended up leaving that all behind. It was a big, like I don't really struggle with it anymore, but I did for a while. Like, that's what I want to do. My younger brother became a cop. He's a cop right now. I was always super jealous of him.
He's out there arresting
He's
people.
out there just
Drug
living the
busting.
life in my mind. He probably, he complains to me a lot about his job, and I'm sure it's like, I know it's awful, it's hard and all that, but I still look at it like, man, that must be so awesome. But I would never want to do that.
And where's he a cop?
So he's in Alberta.
Okay, he's in Alberta.
Edmonton, now in Drayton Valley. So he's with the RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Oh, okay.
So they're like...
Yeah, that's what the Americans make fun of a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know why. They're actually, I think, is it the uniform? It's kind of like a Boy Scout
that's
meets...
their like dress uniform.
British
when they go
Army.
on parade and all that. They wear that red scarlet uniform and the big brown high boots and all that. And
the knickers.
The big hat. But in reality, he's just like a state trooper, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are they all mounted? Like is riding horses just part of it?
No, it's a specialized.
That's a parade thing.
Yeah, it's just a parade thing. They go around and do shows and all that. It's not a. Yeah,
right.
I don't think he's ridden a horse now because he lives on a farm. But at that, he never rode a horse before.
Okay, so only part of the stereotype is true.
Only part of it is true. Yes.
How long has he been a cop up there?
Oh, gosh, I would say at least 10 years, probably more.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was probably... Well, yeah, we moved down here in 2012, so he would have... Yeah, it's been over 10 years, 12 years probably. Yeah.
Because Canada is... I guess it depends on the city, but a lot of their cities are pretty liberal, right? So do they have similar issues that America does with like down with the cops and cops are racist kind of thing? Or is that...
In many of them, but he lives in Alberta, which is kind of considered a little bit more like the Texas of Canada. Okay. The Texas of Canada. So it's a little more conservative in the rural areas. So, but he deals with a lot of, violent crime when it comes to theft, and people steal trucks all the time out there. And now, so it's, he didn't do too much in the city. He's been a rural cop for most of it.
Okay.
And kind of provincially, he used to do investigations all over the province, so he'd fly everywhere. But yeah, no, in general, the Canadian cities are very liberal. I had a lot of friends in the Ottawa police force who they all left because they couldn't handle it. It was super corrupt.
Wow.
And we saw that in the trucker protests.
Right.
So
do you still kind of follow Canadian politics as like a side, just kind of, it's a matter of interest, or is that totally blotted out? Okay.
No, I try as much as I can not to follow it too closely because you get down that rabbit hole of is this just a waste of my time? But I do follow it. I definitely keep tabs on what's going on
because they just got a new prime minister, right?
They did, yeah. And I remember when Pierre Poilievre was first elected, and we knew. I mean, I had met him maybe twice, not super like casually in passing and all that. And I just so when he became the leader of the Conservative Party, it was like, oh yeah, okay,
that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah. I remember meeting that guy. I remember him. It's a small world up there in Canada. It's much smaller than down here. So you get to know, like, even many of the people in Parliament. I knew a lot of the members of Parliament. My mom ran for office once. So yeah, I definitely keep tabs of what's going on, and of course, half my family still lives up there, so I get a lot from them.
Yeah, what's the political breakdown? Because it seems like there is still kind of a left and right up there, but it's a bit different than American left and right.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, this election just kind of showed how we're probably further down that road than we were here in the States in terms of either very, very ignorant people up there. I mean, or that's the only thing I can think of, because it was like this was probably this election in particular showed that, because we just had 10 years of a liberal Trudeau government, and in my view, and in a lot of people's views, I mean, it's just so obvious the country was in a terrible, in many ways, like, let's just say economically, horrible situation. Jordan Peterson talks about this all the time.
Right.
So this should have been a referendum on that. And Carney kind of came out of nowhere. And I remember when I was working in Ottawa, he was the head of the central bank in Canada, and then he became the head of the central bank in England. So he was kind of, we knew who he was and all that, but not really. He wasn't really a political figure. So I don't know. It's the same kind of breed that Trudeau comes from, and in the sense of the same policies are going to be continued. So I don't. Yeah.
So you think it's definitely a referendum on?
Well, it should have been I mean, yes, I think it was. It was a referendum on that, or at least that's in many people's view.
Well, it'd be like in America if Kamala won,
right?
And it would be like, well, wait, hold on, did everyone not see how bad the Biden administration was? I guess that we're just an ignorant nation. So I think for America, it was like, okay, Trump's elected. Even if we disagree with him on things, we're not crazy because he's at least talking common sense. But it seems like Canada was like Trudeau wasn't popular, like things were going terribly, and then it's like their option is to elect another person in the same vein.
It gets a little more complicated because it's a multi-party situation as well. So it's a parliamentary situation. So you've got several parties. So you've got the three main parties, the NDP, which is what you would consider the far left.
Okay.
The Liberals, who were kind of always been historically considered the middle ground, which in reality they've been much more far left. And the Conservatives, who were kind of more middle ground,
like centrist.
They were in reality they're more centrist.
Okay.
If in Americans' view, if you look at it from a point of view from Americans, but up there in Canada, everyone just kind of views it as left, center, right, and then it fluctuates. So there's a lot of strategy that goes along with that. So the NDP lost most of their support to the Liberals. So the Liberals gained a lot of support from the NDP in this election, and lost a bunch to the Conservatives. But because they gained so much from the other major parties, that's how they won the election. But
yeah, it's kind of interesting as an American to think about what that looks like, because the only equivalent we have is like independent would be they wouldn't really be centrist, but that would be kind of the category. So it would almost be like if you had Kamala, Trump, and then I guess RFK was the independent, and it would be like if he won, but he won because a bunch of people who were going to vote for Kamala thought she was too liberal, so they vote for him. Which is not a perfect analogy, but it is interesting that like even though the Liberal Party won, it's leaning center, even though it's not really leaning conservative from what I can see. Right. But yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's all about kind of splitting the votes, and that's kind of what happened up there. But still, it should have been more the NDP and the farther left party should have actually helped kind of split the vote in the favor of the Conservatives, but it didn't happen. So, I don't know. I was very surprised by it, actually. Well, I mean, I wasn't surprised leading up to it because I kind of suspected, okay, this is going to be a Liberal win, but I'm surprised overall that, less than a month ago, it was obvious that if they held an election, the Conservatives would have won in a landslide. So how does that happen?
I don't even know that much about Polyev, but I listened to, I think Peterson interviewed him. And I was like, this guy seems like he'd be really good for Canada. Like, I don't think he would make it in America. I don't think he would be a good American candidate. But the things that he's saying seem to be pretty solid. And he obviously doesn't like Trudeau, which I think is popular. Right. And so I kind of expected him, at least based on what I was seeing, to either win, like you're saying, either win or at least like have a better run of it. But it seemed like it really got turned around.
That's what's so shocking about this in my view. Because, I mean, I hate to be like, common sense, right? Because a lot of politicians throw around like common sense, but this was like the common sense,
like the definition
choice.
of it.
Economic policies were like common sense policies. You didn't have, there was nothing, nothing dramatic or out there. It was very, very much like he focused on, the economy and how do we make, and like Canada is technically an energy superpower. And it should be a super wealthy country. But the policies, and a lot of this has to do with internal politics, like between the provinces, because of our confederation, the way we're made up. Like provinces pay for other provinces, and all that. We could go down that road and all that. But like that's why this was so shocking. I think it's because he saw like, okay, everyone recognizes like our economy is going in a very bad direction right now. We should be a very wealthy country. We're not. I mean, we are, still on the world standards, but like we could be a much more wealthy country.
Do you mean wealthy like the average person has more wealth, or do you mean just less poverty? Like less homeless people?
I would say the average person, because, we have an enormous amount, I say we, I'm an American now, by the way.
Yeah, you stop that.
Yeah, I better stop it. Canada has an enormous amount of natural resources. Oil is a huge one. A lot of people are surprised when it's like I mean, now they might be like the third largest, deposit of oil in the world, and they keep getting knocked down when they keep on finding these, deposits around the world. But like, it's one of the top 3 or 5 in terms of oil, natural gas. Electricity, all of that, like it's enormous, but we just have not been able to harness it because of the policy, especially under Trudeau, because of the climate policies and all that have just hamstrung all the provinces, especially Alberta, which is like the oil province of Canada. So that's what I mean by like, if we could export our oil to a lot of countries around the world, but the Liberal government under Trudeau kiboshed a bunch of. I mean, they won't sell the oil. I mean, one of the main. Keystone Pipeline. I don't know if you remember that. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just an example.
Didn't Biden? They shut that.
That
down,
was Biden.
Right? Yeah.
And so the provinces like Alberta is trying to transport its oil outside the country, but it has to build pipelines through other provinces which don't want oil going through their provinces because of climate policies, environmental policies. So. Yeah. It
seems like Canada is kind of what the U.S. could be if our far left parties or the far left members of the Democratic Party, like Green New Deal, that type of stuff, were actually in charge. Because there's probably a lot of other issues, but Canada is a little bit different because they don't have the Constitution in the same way that we do. Their court systems are different. So it's not a one-to-one comparison, but specifically with the climate issues, it seems like there are a lot of people pushing for it in America, and I think a lot of liberal people want the climate issues to be pushed through. Right. But realistically, there's not actually that much climate policy that's impeding us from doing things. There are some things, but like as far as I know, we don't have massive pipelines that are on hold because Oklahoma won't let a pipe go through. Like, I don't think that that's really an issue. I'm sure there's lower down issues or there's other problems, but I don't think it's like a nationwide governmental ban on fracking or whatever it is, which obviously the Biden administration had in some respects. But yeah, with Canada, it seems like they've gone way down that path of, is this going to kill one bird? Therefore, it is. Okay, therefore we cannot do this. Like, just very, very radical environmental policies.
Yeah, and it's very centralized too. So like certain provinces, and it's a different. We were founded differently, right? Mm-hmm. So we're a confederation, right? So actually, technically, most of the provinces have more sovereignty than states do down here. So they have a lot of power and a lot of sovereignty. So the way it was set up is that, so each province has a certain amount of say within the federal government. So more senators from, depending on their population, they'll have more senators. Whereas down here, it's like there are 2 senators per state. There might be multiple senators up there from one province and only a few from another province. So there other provinces can exert a lot of influence over other provinces across the country. So yeah, it's not even like it's not even like the federal government necessarily is the problem. It's other provinces that are imposing their will upon other provinces. So.
What are some things that were there like culture shocks when you came to America? Because I think that if an American went to Canada, maybe it wouldn't be a culture shock, but I think like a lot of things being in French or just different like terms for things, which I've even noticed in America. If you go up to like Minnesota, Michigan, there's like a slightly different accent. They refer to things slightly differently than maybe not the rest of the country, but there is just kind of terminology that's different, and I think that's probably either a Canadian or French Canadian influence. So when you came here, were there things that you were like, I've called it this all my life, or like that's not even like we would like the example that comes to mind is the like bagged milk or things like that, where you're like, I always grew up with it being this way, and America does it this way, and it's not really a better or worse. It's just a totally different approach to kind of everythay things.
The bagged milk is a funny one because it's like, why the Like I grew up with bagged milk. And I come down here, I'm like, this is a lot easier.
This makes way more sense.
Why don't we put? Why am I trying to get a?
Yeah.
I remember when Monica, because when we got married, she moved up to Canada, so like she had to get used to a bunch of this kind of stuff. Bagged milk was a big one.
Yeah.
Because like you had to buy a certain pitcher in order to put that bagged milk in.
Right.
And it's
The other one that comes to mind is like totes. I feel like people call bins and bags totes. That might be more of a Michigan thing, but I always grew up, and maybe this is an East Coast thing and not like maybe the Midwest is different, but like it was just it's a bag or it's a bin, like a plastic bin or a like grocery bag or plastic bag. But a lot of my friends from Michigan, it's like it's a tote, and a tote is kind of like it could be a bag, it could be a bin, and I was like, there's no differentiation. Like I wouldn't say if I had a grocery bag from Martin's, I wouldn't say it's a tote. Like no, it's a bag. And but things like that, it's just kind of funny that you're like.
And there were definitely a few. There was no real culture shock necessarily because we had. So first of all, my mom's American.
Okay.
I mean,
so
she would never have considered herself American. She moved here she moved to Canada when she was like 2. So she really grew up Canadian.
Okay.
But she was born in the States. And then by the time I was, actually like 4 years old, my brother was already leaving to go off to the States. So he was like going to school in the States. So we had a lot of connection with people in the States. So it didn't seem that foreign. But when I went to St. Greg's, that's when things were highlighted. It was like, wait, you call it like, I just remember stopping at a rest stop on my way down 81, or it was like a 7-Eleven or something like that. And I walk in, I'm like, where's the washroom? and the lady's like, washroom? What are you talking about?
Shower?
I think, yeah. And I'm like, and she's like, you mean the bathroom? And I'm like, yes, the bathroom. But then I'm like looking at it, I'm like, what? Do you go to a bath? Like, do you go to the room to bathe? Like, take a bath, right. Or you wash? Like, right. I'd rather say wash. So like that. I mean, that's not a big one in my. Like, I've definitely changed. Like, I don't think I ever say washroom anymore. I say bathroom, but like that was one. I don't know.
Yeah, that's something. I think I always grew up calling it a bathroom because that's what I was taught. But then you start kind of going out into like society, you get a little older, and then you're like, you start thinking about the meaning that words actually have, and you're like, there's no bath in here. It's just a toilet. It's like a toilet room or a restroom. But even a restroom, like you're not. I guess you're resting. I don't know. Like relief room. I don't know. Like,
restroom. That's what it was.
Restroom.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
In the restroom. Like, what do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's funny. So did you went to Greg's for all 4 years? Did you go all of high school?
All 4 years.
Did you do were they doing the Italy program then, or the abroad program?
So yeah, the juggling group would go.
The troop.
I never went on any of those.
Okay.
I don't know why. Looking back, I'm always like, why the heck did I do that? I just wasn't interested in juggling.
Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't really interested in singing Irish songs that often, and like like we would do that all the time. And like it wasn't a problem, but I don't feel like traveling around singing Irish songs and all that. Like looking back, I'm like, that would have been a really
That's so
cool
funny because that
experience.
was the reason that I wanted to go. I never went,
I'm not
but I was like,
surprised,
I want to learn how to juggle, and I want to like juggle for cash, and I want to travel with a bunch of guys, and like,
oh yeah,
that's what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to do that. But, never did it.
I don't know. I just never. I never put in the hard work to do the juggling side because you have to either juggle or like play an instrument in order to go on that trip pretty much. And I didn't put the effort into either of those things. I don't know what they do now. It doesn't really matter if you juggle or play an instrument. You probably can go. But I would imagine most of them play an instrument or juggle at this point.
Yeah.
No, I went all 4 years. Yeah. Still got a lot of good friends from way back now.
What was your experience of boarding school? Was it like good, but wouldn't do with your kids or?
Yeah, I look at it as it was necessary for me because, I grew up homeschooled. We had in Alberta very few like-minded people, like-minded families in our area. So I had very few like really close friends. In fact, I don't even think I had any close friends. I had friends out there, and I could probably, if I met them today, we would remember. But there was no close friends. So I didn't have much of a social life. So once I started getting close to high school, and you're becoming a teenager, now I'm seeing it with my own kids. I'm like, oh, no wonder my wife's going crazy. Mm-hmm. So my mom was probably going crazy and was like, what options do we have? We can't homeschool them. I couldn't stand homeschooling at that point. I was like, I just needed to get out of the home and have friends and have, other peers, and so St. Greg's was the answer to that. And So I saw it, definitely looking back, as much as it was like, the idea of being away from home and, you don't see your parents or your family very often. Like that was tough, but, I definitely, it was a huge impact on my life in a good way, very positive way. Would I send my son there now? I don't find the need to, just because we've got so many options here. He's got so many good friends.
Right, you'd be sending him away from friends. Yeah.
Right, good teachers, good family, other people to look up to, other adults, my own friends are good, influences on his life. So it's like we didn't have that for me when I was his age, and so St. Greg's was the answer to that. Yeah.
Do you think that? So you mentioned like being homeschooled, needing to get out of the house. Was that a personality thing, or do you think that was more of a distinctly kind of like male thing?
No, I think it was a bit of both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely say it might be probably a personality thing. I was just, I needed friends in a social life, and there wasn't much of that option where I was, and so. And maybe that wasn't just personality. Maybe that is a male thing. But I also have 5 older sisters right above me. My older brother's at the top, and so he was gone by the time I can remember, basically. So I had no older brothers, had a bunch of older sisters. As a guy, I think it's really important to have good male role models. And my dad is definitely that person to me, but it was just him. And,
right.
And, I think it's important to have good male peers.
Yeah. I've thought about that a lot. I actually want to have, in the back of my mind is to have Cutaback back on to talk about that, because I think he has a really balanced view of what that looks like. Because I don't think he would say that boarding school is for everyone, but I know his son Nick went, and I know they had a good experience, or at least from what I've heard, it went well. But to me, it is, I think, that argument of like, it just seems very situational. Like, I think if you see a family where they live in a great community, and as you said, your son has a bunch of good friends, your friends are good influences on him, there's a lot of things to do, there's not a lot of headbutting with the mom who's kind of like the day-to-day teacher. Yeah, why would you send him? Like, there's no real reason to, other than maybe I think that the experience of traveling abroad when you're younger and have less responsibilities, or learning to play an instrument that we don't have time to teach you, or maybe the rugby program. Like, if those are some of the things you want him to have that there just isn't a program locally, then maybe, fine. But to me, it seems difficult to make that decision when you do have all the goodness of a community like this. And there are many others. This is not the only one. But at the same time, I can also see the situation of you're living in the middle of nowhere. You don't really have any friends. There's no sports programs. You've got a 13 or 14-year-old boy who's just going crazy, who's driving the mom crazy, who's not getting school done. And you're like, especially as the dad, if you're gone most of the time, well, maybe the solution is to put him kind of in a hard environment and say you need to like get good grades, you need to play sports, you need to learn how to play an instrument. Like, maybe that is the solution. Right. And I don't think it's a one size fits all, but
I agree.
I like that there's a diversity of opinion, and it seems like for some people it's an awesome, kind of similar to homeschooling. Like, it's an awesome solution. Love it. Kids love being homeschooled. And then other people are like, yeah, we cannot homeschool.
Right.
It's nothing against the model. It just doesn't work.
Right.
They need to go to school. They need to be out of here. So.
Yeah, no, and I think also, like, as you get to your teenage years, boys in particular need to have activities outside the home, and so that can be, any sort of way. I mean, it might be something like it used to be working in the fields, right? Like farming, essentially, like you were outside the house. Where so they need, I think, boys at that age need to be outside the home in some way, not all the time, but like that's what right now our school gives our son right now is. He goes to school and he's with his friends, he's with teachers and other, he's getting influence from other people. He does work, they do hard work and all that outside. And he has his stuff, his chores and things at home. But like, I think they need to get out and start experiencing, some level of somewhat independence or thinking on their own without their parents necessarily being there all the time. Whereas I think girls are kind of the opposite. I mean, it's at that point, it's like they're more geared towards the home in many ways. Yeah. At least that's what we've seen in our experience right now. It's like, So that definitely for me, it's like I had no options. Whereas, my son has a lot of options around here, and we've got more sons coming up, and maybe one of them is going to be like, "Yep." I joke to Monica, my wife, all the time. Like, I wish St. Greg's had a toddler program.
Yeah, get in there.
I would send my son Edmund there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think I guess the St. Joseph the Just is trying to do something similar, but I think my ideal setup would be a non-boarding school option, but that has all the benefits of boarding school, but none of the negatives. Which the negatives being you're a couple hours away. You're around adults that I don't necessarily know super well. You're around kids that I don't know very well. We don't get to see you a lot. But the positives are there's a music program, there's a sports program. You're the good education. And it seems like they're trying to do something like that. I don't know that much about the school, but I think it is neat that they're trying to incorporate not only school, but they've got sports and boxing and things like that. And then also promoting the trades, which I think is great
it's awesome.
For boys. And even if you don't go to trade school, even if you end up not doing that trade, just a lot of people these days, like their dad isn't in the trades.
Right.
Like you're not in the trades.
Right.
Like, so how is he going to learn basic woodworking? Maybe you can teach him that, but if you can't, who's going to teach him that? No one, unless he goes to school or unless he works a summer for a construction company. That's the only option. So even if he doesn't want to become a woodworker, he at least has that exposure and at least kind of basic level. Here's how to read a tape measure. Here's how to frame a wall. Really, really basic stuff that he can learn as a 12-year-old. To me, that's a no-brainer. And it's like, if I can't teach that, I want someone who can, so that he's like competent. Like you want your sons to be competent,
Oh yeah.
So
definitely.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I need to have him back on to talk about that, because I'd love to hear.
Who, Cutterback?
Yeah, just talk about boarding school, and I think I've heard him give a defense of it in some ways, and I think it's kind of the short version of it is if having the boy at home is actually more destructive to the home, because your wife is always stressed and is always kind of getting battered by that obstinance, and the chores aren't getting done, and the boy isn't being pushed enough because the mom can't push him enough, and the dad's not home. Then it's like, okay, now you have to make the decision. But it almost seems like it's a last case scenario, but it still could be a positive. That was kind of my view of it. I don't know if that's exactly true or if that's changed on his account, but it's an interesting thing, because I think that the boarding school has a negative connotation. Like, boarding
definitely.
school, they're a problem child, send them away.
Gosh.
But I don't think that that's necessarily the case a lot of times. It's kind of maybe it is a last case scenario, but it's almost like there isn't a better option.
Right. I mean, I think also just from a parent's perspective, it's super hard to send your kid away, especially if it's
being that young,
for me, like thousands of miles away or something, or hundreds of miles away. Like, and you only see them, several times a year. And yeah, I mean, that is probably not, like, because I experienced that, I don't think it would be that big of an issue for me, or like that difficult of a decision if I had no other options. And that's where, but Monica in particular would be like crushed by that. I can't imagine sending my son. And boarding schools are not perfect,
especially all boys.
Yeah, exactly.
School,
So I mean, you're a parent, you're like, I'm taking a risk here, because you're not there. You don't know what goes on there. And so someone else is parenting your kid, essentially. So
it's a lot of trust.
And that's why I think I'm just super grateful that we have these schools here that can have all these opportunities, like sports and, good men's programs and the women's programs, and then still see my son every day and, can still be there to parent. I'm not letting the teachers parent him, but they're there to teach. So whereas at St. Greg's, it was like your parents are kind of giving you up to be like parented through teenage years. So
would you say that your views on education have changed a lot in terms of, like, I don't know, maybe when you first started having kids, you're thinking, okay, we'll probably homeschool them, and then as you start homeschooling them, you're like, oh, maybe online school or maybe private school. Like, did that kind of develop, or have you always thought of, I went to boarding school, but we're in a good community, so we shouldn't need to do that, and then that's just kind of what you've done?
I think for me, definitely it evolved. I just kind of, this is the way we did things as a family. That's kind of what I'm going to expect, is especially when I was expecting us to live in Canada for the rest. I wasn't planning to move away from Canada. So I just assumed we would have the same sort of life of
Right.
we might not live in a community where we have like-minded people. And so we're probably going to homeschool. And I definitely didn't want to send my kids to any of the schools I knew.
Yeah.
Of anyway. There was nothing to send them. So I just assumed we were going to homeschool. Monica was a little bit more like, I would like to live in a place where we could send our kids to a good school and have good community. So that, as, the first few years of our marriage, that started to develop on me like, oh, yeah, that would be a much better option. I would much rather that. We also, I think, we from early on, and a lot of this is from my wife's influence, certainly, because I think she thought more deeply about this than I did, for sure. But like each kid, like we wanted to, consider those options depending on what the kid's situation was and who they are and their personality. So that's why we're in 3 different schools right now. We're homeschooling some of them. Some of them are at John the 23rd Montessori School, and some of them are at JPGMA Montessori Academy. So kind of tailored to our kids' needs.
Yeah.
But again, we have the option to do that here. Most people don't have that option. It's like, No, I think for me, it definitely developed over time. Like I started to realize, oh, yeah, I wish I had that opportunity, for instance, and I can see my son needs this right now. This is a better fit for him.
Yeah. What a blessing to be able to do that, though, because I think a lot of parents probably see that. Oh, I think that he needs a sports program, or I think that it'd be great if there was a place where they take out time during the day to go to mass, but that doesn't exist. So we're homeschooling, and it's kind of like what do they say about democracy? Like it's the best form of government, but like it's still terrible, right? Like it's or it's the worst form of government, but it's better than all the other options. So it's kind of like, is this ideal? Probably not, but what's the alternative? So actually having an alternative, maybe it's never going to be a perfect fit, but the fact that you can at least try to say, I think they're talented in this way or need this motivation, and then do your best. At least you feel like you can move a little bit because there's some options. So,
right.
Yeah. It's cool.
Exactly. I mean, and each of those options are not perfect in any way. Like, but I think having a healthy sense of like none of these options are going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So sometimes you try out one and it doesn't work out, and you try the other one. Like that to us is like not a big deal. For some people, it's like they want to find that one school and they want their kids to go there and they want it to be perfect. And when it's not, then they shift to the next school and then they shift to the next school. And maybe that works for them and all that. But, to me, it's like you just work with what you have and try to find the best solutions as they come. And your kids are growing too. So like they're going to change over time too. So it's like they're developing. So sometimes you learn a lot more. Well, you do learn a lot more about your kid as they're growing up. Like, oh, I thought they were this kind of a personality or something, and then you realize they're not. And like, oh, everything I've been thinking of pushing down on them because I thought that's what they needed is
I thought
actually
they were good at sports, but they are not.
Yeah, I definitely like James is a good example. My son James is like, early on, I definitely realized like, okay, that he needs to be active and play sports. Something I never had as a kid, but I also had to realize like, is this just me being like trying to like, I didn't have this, so I want him to have it.
Go, son! Yeah.
No, it was
football star.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
No, it's like if anything, he's kind of like, I would love to be a football star kind of thing, and I'm kind of like, I don't
sure.
know. Is this serious? But I'm not. Yeah. So But then I look at some of my other sons, and I'm like, no, they probably just want to have a bunch of animals that they can take care of, and who cares about sports?
And I think that's fine. Yeah. So earlier when we were talking about Canada and police academy and all that, you were in the Army. You said you were in the Army for 4 years?
6 years.
6 years? Yeah. And then you guys moved down here. What was the career shift? Were you like, I'll try to stay in the Army, but like do that, or I'll do the cop route, but in America? Or was it like, I'm abandoning all of the Canadian plans and we're doing something
pretty
new?
much was like, I have to abandon everything. So I had to give up the idea of being a cop because there was no way I was going to be a cop down here. Put it that way. A cop up there, you get paid very well. You were treated, at least when the time I was wanting, I was considering it, cops were treated quite well. They were paid very well. They had great benefit packages and things like that. And so, like, that wasn't a question. But down here, cops in general, definitely then, and I think now, are just not paid well. And it's,
At least
they're not treated well at
yeah,
all nowadays. And it's like, I just was like, nope, there's no way I'm going to be a cop down here. So I knew, like, if we were moving down here, I'm giving all of that up. And I couldn't join. Well, I guess I could have joined the Army down here, but I would be starting over, and it's a different country, and no.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we made that decision basically being like, if there's an opportunity that opens up down here in the States, then I'll take it. And I just thought that wasn't going to happen. We prayed a lot about it, and all of a sudden I was offered this job down here, and they were willing to wait for me to get my immigration status through Monica. And we were like, well, this is a door opening, so let's take it. And so I moved down here, spent a year working at the college. And that I just didn't know what I was like. I was so dead set on being either spending, 10 years in the Army and then moving into law enforcement, or just being a cop. That I was just like, I don't know what else to do. I don't know. I had to do a lot of self-reflecting. So it was like 2 or 3 years of kind of trying things out before I landed in on the real estate.
What like drove you to that? Was it just an interest?
Just satisfied with the jobs I was going through, and then a friend of mine was like, "Hey, have you ever tried doing this? Come join me, and let's go.
Nice.
Let's go buy and sell.
Okay.
Houses." And
Was that with
like,
Inform, or was that
with
before?
Ben McMahon?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
he had this property management company, and I was like,
Was that Vesta, or was that?
I think Vesta ended up buying it.
Okay.
So it was called BSM Properties.
Yes. Okay. I remember that. Yeah.
So he and I kind of joined up on that, and I just kind of fell into doing what I was doing, and here I am 10 years later.
Yeah.
It was definitely one of those things. I had no idea what I was getting into, and I made a lot of mistakes, but I learned from those mistakes, and I really enjoyed it and what I was doing, and I just saw like just a lot of potential. But the main thing was like I was working for myself, and that had never happened. So like in the Army, I was definitely not working for myself.
Right.
And all the other jobs I had before I got into real estate, I was working for someone else. And so then all of a sudden I was working for myself, and I started to realize like everything's on me. So there was this level of like, oh, I need to step up in order to make things work. And it's up to me. And so I need to make these things happen. So I don't know. I just experienced that level of freedom, but also like more responsibility than I actually ever experienced, because it was all on me to make business happen. And
I love that. I love seeing that difference, especially in guys. Wow, we have a solo artist.
I was trying to figure out
Main
where
Street.
that was coming from. Is that Main Street?
I don't know. I think so, unless they're in the building.
It's not my phone.
I was recording an episode with Father Adino. We're doing this series that will be released soon, super secret. And we typically record, like I do like Wednesdays or Thursdays, but he was only free Friday, and it was late. I was like, 10 p.m. Friday, no one's going to be on Main Street. It's Front Royal, like it's dead. But because of On Cue, and they're open a little bit later, a bunch of people were on Main Street, and then it was also the opening of the Minecraft movie. And that was extremely popular for reasons that I won't understand. But there were a lot of people on Main Street. And so the first like half hour, we were like, it is very loud. Like people screaming, people doing the wahoos, people singing. And I was like, I'm so sorry, Father. It's never been like this. Like at worst, it's just a loud motorcycle that goes down. That's all it is. So anyway, whoever you are, Front Royal man, God bless you.
I'm really surprised that this mic can pick that up.
I don't think this building is that soundproof, and there's 2 windows right by Main Street. I thought about just turning the microphones way down and then turning the headphones way up. The problem is that when you someone clicks it on in their headphones or whatever, even if their volume's all the way up, it's still a little bit quiet. So I'd rather record it and be really loud and have people turn it down.
That makes sense.
Because the first couple episodes we did, our headphones were up or something, and so we had it on, I don't know what it was, like 3 or 4. And we're like, oh, that's perfect. But then I was listening to the audio, and I'm like, okay, my truck volume is all the way up, and I I think it was just the one mic, but whoever it was is talking quieter, and I cannot hear them, and I hate that. Like I want to, if anything, I want it to be too loud. So default is too loud. What were we talking about? The difference between there's kind of a clear divide actually in Front Royal of people who, and I think it's actually a personality thing. Maybe it's not all personality, maybe some of it's luck, but the difference between guys who either work for themselves or work for a company, but it's a real estate-esque kind of thing, like roofing, sales, real estate, something like that, where
service industries.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of how much you're gonna make money if you're motivated and you do the work. And if you aren't motivated and you don't work super hard, you can still make a living, but way less. And then there's other people who just want to be salaried. They want the salary, they want the benefits. They don't care about making $200,000. They'd rather have the consistency, the no stress, the whatever. And it's kind of fascinating to see because it's not really an either or. It's not a good or bad. But there are personality types that are like, I just want to get up at the same time, go to the same place, kind of do the same things, get my paycheck every Friday, know that I have my benefits, and do that. And then there's the other group of people who can't stand that, can't function that way, feel boxed in, and kind of need to be creative and make their own work and explore opportunities. And it is really fascinating because for a while I used to think of it as like, oh, there's people who are like kind of lazy working office jobs. And then there's people who are like motivated and are actually like changing the world, or actually like being an entrepreneur. But then I realized that the more like people I get to know in the area and kind of different expertise and things like that, I think it's actually just a personality thing. I think some people just hate the stress of, I don't know when my next paycheck is coming. And for me, and for I think other people who are more entrepreneurial, it's exciting to be like, well, I might not get paid next week, or I might get 10 grand. You know, like there's kind of this fun, like I need to make the sale. I need to keep networking. I need to keep building the brand. I need to keep like growing, building, exploring. And it's just a different personality thing. I'm sure obviously some of those people are lazy and some of the people are crazy. Like, I'm not saying that it's a clear, that the camps are exactly defined and clear, but for you, did you really like, did that affect you seeing that difference between Army, follow the rules, paycheck, benefits, and then you go to real estate and you're like, I don't have to do anything today if I don't want to, or I could sell 3 properties and make like a lot of money, you know, like that. Cause that's a very different, it's also a very like Canada versus America mentality, at least stereotypically. I don't know if that's actually true, but just kind of like the entrepreneurial businessman is a very American stereotype too.
I would say for me, I mean, I think I share that opinion that you have there. I mean, especially in our community, it's pretty defined. Yeah. For me though, I'm like, I think it's very personality related. Like if I was to have a job that I just absolutely loved and was like, and I'll even point out like 2 examples that I think that I would have loved, because I have somewhat of an experience with this with the law enforcement thing, because I did do an auxiliary program with the Ontario Police for a year. So I was on the road and patrol and all that, and I absolutely loved it. And I view pilots as the same thing. I'm like, if I could just go to my job and operate something, like, I mean, you might have to be, technical, you have to be prepared, you need to be trained and all that. But definitely on the law enforcement side of things, it was like you never knew what to expect that day. And I loved that. I was like, I don't know what, I'm given all the tools I need, given all the training I need. You're constantly training all the time, but you don't know what to expect. Like I was like, and then like some days are like super action packed. Other days are like, oh my gosh, this is just horrible and it's boring. Or you have tons of paperwork or something like that. Like no job is perfect. You're always going to have hard work that you're going to hate. But like for me, I always just envisioned like if I could just have a job that I absolutely love doing, where I didn't have to worry about the paycheck necessarily. Like
kind of best of both worlds.
That's kind of what I view pilots as. I've never been a pilot, so I don't know. But like I view that as like that's a similar thing in the sense that like you're given all the training and prepared, and you get on your plane, you go, and you're done. Like you get home and you're done. Right. And you might have like a week off or something like that, but like, and then you fly for a week or whatever. But like you get home and you're done. You don't have that burden and that responsibility of like, is the business functioning? And oh my gosh, there's all this stuff I have to do for tomorrow or something like that. Like that to me was like this huge, like that stresses me out and keeps me up at night. but so why real estate for me, I think is comparable in some ways. Is like, it's very similar in the sense of like, I don't know what to expect the next day. Like on every transaction is different. Every client is different. It's very relational. So relationship oriented. So yeah, there's that kind of excitement of like, you have to drop things half the time and move to the next thing. And I love that. But at the same time, I'm running a business. So I have to I have to plan things out, and I don't know when the money's coming in next, or, things could fall through. And that part of it is a struggle for me. But then again, I've tried both worlds of a paycheck and not knowing when the next paycheck is going to come in. And it's like both have their, working for the man for me is just like, I've done it enough times to know, okay, no, this is not for me. Part of the excitement is that it's on me, and so it motivates me to actually get up and work.
Sure.
Because I don't know if I'm going to make that paycheck today or tomorrow. So I don't know.
Yeah. Real estate is kind of a fascinating thing to me. I don't think this episode is live yet. Let's see. It should be coming out this week. We were talking about this a little bit before the show, but I had Mike Turner on, and we were talking about I can't even remember if this was on the episode or after, but we were talking about real estate and buying homes, and kind of how, like, if you try to think about a society without real estate, it almost seems better. Like, people in a community, there's one contractor or two, they build houses, they sell them for material cost plus labor, you buy the house, you put your roots down there, you build it big enough for your family, but it's not like way over the top. It's not a mansion. It's just what you need. Right. Decent sized house, well built, high quality. It's going to last for 50 years. And then if there's any problems, you know who the contractor is. He comes and fixes it. And you do that. And then, obviously if you have a young couple that can't afford a house, people in the community come together. They help build or buy the home. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. But if you try to implement that or pitch that to people, it sounds very like communist. Right. Like, well, we'll kind of have like a commune, and everyone buys into this program, and we help. So it's like it kind of has to come from a real community of almost like family. It almost has to be like a family thing. But we don't have that. And the interesting thing with Front Royal is that a lot of the business that happens, the real estate deals, the houses that sell, the rentals that get rented out, a lot of it is just like Christendom networking, Catholic connections, or even just kind of local Front Royal people. So there is that aspect of it, but it's still through traditional means. It's still through a real estate agent, a listing agent, which is so fascinating to me that it's kind of both. Because a lot of places, you don't know anyone. Hey, got a job in wherever in Denver. We're going to look on the market. Hey, we found this realtor that seems polite. We buy the house. Whereas here, a lot of it's like, oh, do you know Ben? Oh, do you know this guy? I think he can cut you a better deal. Oh, I know the guy who's selling it. We can. So there is kind of this like familiar, like negotiating, networking that's going on. But there also is the actual established, like, no, but there's a certain percentage that the agent gets. And I don't know. Have you kind of? I guess you're more involved in that than I am. This is just kind of an outside view, but.
That's got to go in a little deeper. Which is funny because you should probably come to the next Artifex if we actually settle on this date.
Oh, okay.
It has to do with something to do with this kind of like
with real estate.
Well, not necessarily real estate, but it's more financial.
Okay.
It's like going back to like establishing like family trusts, and like generational, wealth essentially.
Is it like Dave Ramsey-esque?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's like
I didn't mean that as a good or bad thing, but
no, what I mean by that is like it's very well. Actually, I shouldn't say it's not like Dave Ramsey because I don't actually follow Dave Ramsey very well.
Okay.
And maybe it actually aligns very well with him. I just
okay. Well,
either way, it has to do with like building essentially generational wealth, but in non-traditional means like apparently back in the day, families could like borrow against the family bank essentially, like if people would set up like essentially like family banks. So you wouldn't be going out to a bank to necessarily get a loan. You could get a loan against the family bank.
Okay.
That's what these guys are going to talk about. So I don't know.
That's
how
cool.
how accurate. Like they presented it to me, and I was like, well, that's very.
So does everyone pay into the family bank? Like everyone puts their savings in there, and then
I guess the idea is leaving a legacy. And it's not necessarily like, so most people nowadays, especially those who have like built up wealth, or even if you haven't built up a substantial amount of wealth, like most people who are, in their 80s or whatever are leaving some sort of estate. And generally they give it to, hey, this person, my son gets this, my daughter gets this, my, charitable, this charity gets this amount, whatever. These guys, I think, are coming up with the idea that, no, you should be able to build like a trust, essentially, that is passed on to the trustees that manage that trust to continue it on, and they all put in their money, and all that is going into this trust, and they build it up even more, and then that's passed on to the next trustees, essentially, and you get out from having to borrow from banks, essentially, and you're borrowing against the family trust. So I don't know. I'm not an expert on this in any way, shape, or form. It's just the way they were presenting it to me. It was like very fascinating.
So the first thing that strikes me about that is the benefit, or the main benefit, just the interest rate difference? Hey, I'm borrowing from the family, so there's little or no interest, whereas if I borrow from the bank, there's high interest? Or is it more of what would be the benefit to that rather than a bank, if the bank has more security? Or
I think a lot has to do with interest, and it's also keeping it within the family, so the family kind of decides on how it's used. I don't have the answer yet, which is why I'm very interested to hear this talk that these guys are hopefully giving this either this month or next. But
there are two of them.
Yeah, two of them.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, I mean, you're right. I mean, I think I really like. I mean, the idea of the community kind of supports each other. And that's the way it used to be, and I feel like we've gotten far away from that. Yeah. But this Front Royal in particular, and I'm sure that there might be other places like this, is super unique in that sense of like, everyone's connected in many, many ways. We all support each other in many, many ways, but we're still all very
private too.
Very private and very separate and very divided in many, and especially in the business world. Business world can be really cutthroat.
Totally.
And it's like, so that's what these guys are coming from, like a very Catholic perspective as well. It's like, so what I'm very interested to find out, like, what is the Catholic, like, what would be the Catholic answer to this? Essentially?
Yeah. There's a lot of really interesting, like, writing and podcasting, speeches, whatever you would call kind of. Maybe like thought development on this, like not only what is the easy thing to do or the most moral thing to do, but like what is our particular interpretation of what this church document says about investing in companies that might support bad things. Like, is that remote cooperation or is that not? Or should you if you give money to someone, should you charge interest? Where does that cross the line? Is being a real estate agent evil and you're going to hell? Like, and there's obviously extreme examples where, yes, if you're charging exorbitant rates, that's sinful, but also if you're defrauding your workers of their wages because you're giving away things that you should be charging for, that's also not moral. So there's kind of this interesting thing that's happening, and I think that Front Royal specifically, maybe it's not unique, but it's unique if you live here, is that it's not a podunk town. Like Steubenville, I was in Steubenville like 2 months ago, and I was walking down the street, and there was a building that was for sale. I think it was condemned, needed some work, and I looked it up, and I was like, I could buy this building. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't have a huge net worth. I could buy this building, I don't even know what's wrong with it, but I think it was like for like $75,000, and it was like a nice facade, 4 or 5 levels, and I was like, even if the entire building needed gutted and redoing, I could afford that. I could get a loan. I could redo it. Maybe it actually wouldn't be a good financial decision because the resale value wouldn't be that high. But in Front Royal, a place that's in that same shape or worse would be $800,000.
Right.
And so it is kind of fascinating because I think there are communities that have a big Catholic presence and they have these old buildings and people are buying them for nothing and fixing them up and whatever. But in Front Royal, it's like there is a similar community, but because of our location to DC and the valley and the mountains and all that, prices are really high. So like house prices are high, rentals are crazy. So you have this like really high rental and housing market, but the average population isn't super wealthy. There are wealthy people here, but like not exorbitantly wealthy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an odd situation to be in, and it must be odd being a real estate agent kind of dealing with that, because in Nova stuff costs a lot, but people also have a lot of money. Right. So it's like kind of a different situation.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, because I think that brings up kind of the politics of our town at this point.
Yeah.
It's like I wouldn't. I mean, I'm just looking back like 20 years from now, or sorry, 20 years ago. Like the average income in Warren County was like $30,000 or something like that a year, annual salary.
Okay.
And it's like $70,000 now. Like when you actually look at like the data, like on average, it has increased significantly here. Like people in general, on average, are wealthier than they were 20 years ago. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of factors that go into like, well, you know, their dollar's worth a lot less now and things like that. But, you know, property values are certainly up and all that. I deal with a lot of clients who can't afford homes anymore. You know, the homes they need are outside their price range. That's definitely there. That's a factor. So, and I think that's what this county is struggling with right now, is like, how do we answer that? So you've got on one side, like if we just start developing some of our land, like we can start to lower a lot of our prices, or we can also introduce a lot of business into the area and commercial investment into the area that will also raise, you know, people's salaries and annual salaries to be able to afford homes. More homes on the market and all that, more homes available, less, you know, the prices steady out and aren't increasing in, you know, crazy amounts that they have been in the past, you know, 4 or 5 years. So there's that one side, and then you've got the other side that just doesn't want to develop anything and keep it small and rural and as it is, which I totally respect, because I'm like, we want to keep this a small town feel. There needs to be some sort of like middle ground there. I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah, we I mean, compared to Steubenville, yeah, I mean, you just brought up two great points. Like our proximity to DC, our location is just, you know, a significant factor in why land value is so high out here.
Right.
And then there's a lot of people moving here specifically for this community that can't afford,
right,
or they can't find, you know, something to buy because there's just so little inventory.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you answer that? You have to have some sort of development.
Yeah.
But how do you do that without changing the complete dynamic of the town to make it, you know, some you know, suburban area out of DC? And I think it's very, very possible, but you know, you need to actually address it smart. You know,
right.
That's why I say smart growth. Like, I think there's opportunities there for good, you know, smart development that keeps the small town feel, keeps the rural nature of the town and the county.
Yeah, I wonder what the solution is to that. I've talked to a few people about it, and it seems like, so yeah, as you said, some people just want to keep it small town, don't want it to change, which of course I respect. But I don't think that that's super realistic, because you can't stop people from moving here, and you can't stop people from developing and buying. And so it's going to happen at some point.
Right.
My view, and I don't really know how practical this is, but it seems like you kind of need to accept that, hey, in the next 10 years, our growth is going to be X. Where do we want those people to be? Does that mean tearing down some of these old real estate buildings off of John Marshall Highway and building thousands of apartment complexes? Could be. That would house a lot of people. But is that really what we want? Or do we want to develop land that's maybe 20 minutes outside of town, so it's a little bit further away, but then we can have nice houses with 2-acre plots with nice neighborhoods, and then that gives business to lawn care companies, tree companies, plowing companies, you know, roofing companies, whatever it is, construction companies. But it's not just there's the classic historic downtown, and then everywhere else is apartment buildings. I don't know. I don't have the solution, but it seems like there would be a way to approach it. But I think a lot of the problem is, regardless of how you split it, it takes a lot of money and investment to get these places here. And until you get a lot of them here, it's still expensive. And part of the issue, I think, with Front Royal and a lot of like college towns is a lot of the people that are moving here or staying here are young couples that both have college debt that can't afford anything.
Right.
So this isn't like Middleburg where it's really not super developed, but there's a bunch of mansions and everyone there is worth millions of dollars. It's not that. There are people here like that, but a lot of the new people coming here can't really afford to buy a house at all or build or anything. So then how do you subsidize that?
Yeah, you have to give them opportunity.
Right.
And then you also have to be, I mean, I think it can't be just a case by case necessarily, but I think, like, let's take the data centers, I think, as a good example, because that's just what's on everyone's mind when it comes to politics right now. It's like, no one wants data centers in their backyard.
Right.
I mean, there's plenty of stuff that is just ugly. There's problems and issues that go with it. But at the same time, it's like, can we have one data center? Where would that be, and how could that look like? Would that help us? Would that benefit Warren County? I mean, I think there are plenty of arguments to show that, yes, you could have one, maybe two, and that's it. But like the county and the people here have the opportunity to decide, like, is that a possibility, and where would that be, and on our terms. So that's why I'm like, I think you need to take that kind of approach to it rather than no data centers, absolutely, or let's just open it up to as many data centers as we can because we're going to get so much tax dollars from it and it's going to be great. And it's like, well, you're going to ruin this town, in this county.
Right.
But one data center, I mean, it's the same thing when it comes to, apartment buildings or neighborhood or something like that. A lot of people are like, agricultural land should just not be developed, period. And like, well, it was developed at some point. I mean, we've got the town here. It used to be a field. Yeah. We need to be smart about this. We need to be that's why I think a case by case approach is warranted. Like, does this potential development change the nature of our town and county? Yes. Right. Forget it.
Right.
No. Then let's do it.
Yeah. It's almost like you need to come up with criteria. And I think like some practical steps could be, okay, well, if we want to preserve what the downtown or the town feels like, let's extend the historic district. Or maybe it's not the historic district because you don't want the color rules or you can't put on a porch rule or whatever. But like, we're going to limit any type of change. And if it's a change, it has to be a betterment of the property. You're not going to demo this historic building and put a parking garage there. Like, there has to be strict rules on what you can do with the property and what it's going to look like, kind of how downtown Winchester has done it. Right. And I know that there have been talks of people being like, let's shut down Main Street, no traffic through there, and let's make that a walking path, and then more restaurants will come, and then kind of develop it that way. So you preserve the classic feel, right? But it's also very clean. It's also very attracts tourists, but it doesn't just become developed; it become all apartment buildings. And then outside of town, then you have the apartment buildings where people are actually going to live, and then come enjoy the downtown area. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Every city does it differently.
Well, yeah, I think what it comes down to is the strategic plan, right?
Right.
So what is our end goal for this? What do we want to see, Warren County, and then what industry supports that? And I think
that's a big thing.
Here in particular, like, people kind of laugh, or at least used to. Like, we're like, the tourism is our largest industry out here. I think it's still our largest industry. And and people kind of laugh at that. I'm like, well, no, you got 1 million people that come through here every year just for Skyline Drive. So that's one thing. This is a gateway to Skyline Drive. We have 1 million people drive down South Street, down 340 and up Skyline Drive. Until recently, they had no places to eat, no places to stay. Like, no one was going to stay in any of the motels here. There were no hotels, and no one wants to stay in a hotel anymore anyways. Right. So, like, that's where the Airbnb market kind of popped up, because it was like people want a destination as well. They go to the Skyline Drive, and then they would drive to Winchester or go south to go out to a pub or a restaurant or something like that and stay in an Airbnb somewhere else. So it was like we were losing all of that traffic. So Airbnbs became a thing here because it was like, we've got a beautiful county. We've got the river, we got mountains, people coming out here, staying, spending their money out here, and then leaving. So we don't have that added burden of development, where people are out here, you build development, now you have law enforcement costs, you have education costs, you've got a lot of costs associated with that. So tourism, I think, is, I mean, I haven't checked lately, but I still think that is the top goal of the strategic plan, is to attract tourism, because of that's one example. You've got the river here, you've got wineries popping up everywhere, you've got breweries even popping up, you've got hiking trails, we've got the National Forest here, you've got Shenandoah National Park, which is a big destination for a lot of people nationally.
Yeah, caverns.
Right. And so that's an industry that could keep the small town feel, because those people come here and they're attracting people. They spend money here and then they leave. So attracting or allowing businesses and allowing people to actually operate tourist type, whether it's wineries, whether it's Airbnbs or things like that, I think, in my opinion, like that helps keep the town like a small town feel, while still having an industry that we can support. So then that's where I think we start developing the town itself to allow for, like, because people are like, well, Airbnb that's why our prices are out, off the wall, because we got these investors that come in and pay cash for these places, and people who want to buy those can't afford them. We need affordable housing. Well, it's like, well, we need to find an answer to that. And that's where I think development comes in. Apartments, when you say apartment buildings, I think you could build nice, beautiful apartment buildings that are affordable in the town.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm also I think that a lot of people would agree that you want to keep the Main Street type feel. And so developments should be supporting that Main Street feel. So mixed use developments where you have a mixture of residential, small commercial, shops, boutiques, things like that. That should be what the developments are focused around, not large suburban neighborhoods. No one wants large suburban neighborhoods. So I'm like, yeah, I totally agree.
Interesting. So more of a stark contrast. Instead of large suburban neighborhoods, have classy apartments downtown that are more expensive, that have
not
food
necessarily
options.
Expensive.
Well, they would be more expensive, right? I guess not necessarily.
Well, not necessarily. We don't have apartment buildings.
Right.
I mean, we have very few apartment buildings. So, I
guess I was just thinking they'd be nice.
You don't have.
You want nice ones, but.
Well, yes, but I think you could still build them and make them they can still be affordable. They don't have to be. I mean, you can build nice ones and still be affordable, because it's the demand is mostly local for those.
Yeah.
So you have to price them for the demand. Right now in the town of Front Royal, there are very few, if any, lots are zoned for any sort of apartment buildings or multi-use complexes. So that's where I think is the answer, is you start looking for those properties that might, or those lots that could support that, keep the small town feel, allow us to do apartment buildings that could cater to people who can only afford apartments right now. And then, develop the residential areas and commercial areas, small commercial areas around the small town feel. And we just went through this a year ago with some partners of mine. There's 12-acre lot in town with that idea in mind. So I mean, who knows? That might happen. But I just saying no development is not going to solve the problem. We're going to get bypassed. By the opportunity that will go elsewhere, and then we'll become the next Manassas, essentially, where, you might have low-income housing now, but all those dilapidated buildings are going to be even more dilapidated, and we don't have the investment to do anything about it.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of the apartment buildings are kind of a fascinating thing, because if you go to any big city in Europe, there's apartments all over the place. There's a restaurant and there's apartments above it. There's tons of apartments, but a lot of them are built well, or at least aesthetically look nice. And so you would barely notice that they're apartments until you see someone putting laundry out on the porch or whatever. But there's people all over the place in this huge metropolis, and it's like an apartment building and then a church and then an apartment building and then a restaurant. But here, I think maybe the problem is just quality, is that we can't build apartments that are beautiful. And so when everyone thinks apartments, you think of this huge white, ugly building with a bad roof, with crappy tenants, with just everything is kind of Soviet. It's just bad. It's ugly. It doesn't fit it's not nice. But I think that if you did have areas, especially if they were slightly outside of town, or at least in in convenient areas where you're not shutting down Main Street traffic, you're not causing problems, but you have these really beautiful apartment buildings. I think more people would be on board for that. The answer to that is planned neighborhood developments. So it's an actual term in the town code, planned neighborhood development. And right now there's no options for that in the town of Front Royal. You have to actually change code to allow for smaller properties to be developed
for planned neighborhood development.
There's
it's the most restrictive development you could do here because the town has a ton of say in how it's planned out. So if they allowed for lots that are in the town that are smaller lots that could be developed like that, they could still have the control they need to ensure that it's developed in the way that they want it to be. And so
how would that work? Do you have to submit your architectural plans to the town for approval?
The town would have to, number one, the town would have to change code to allow those properties. So right now I think it's 10, it has to be 10 acres, minimum 10 acres.
Okay.
There's maybe two lots in town that you could do that planned neighborhood development. So you'd have to change the code to allow for smaller lots to be developed, planned neighborhood development. So that's number one.
Okay.
And then number two is once you actually once those lots are freed up to be able to be developed as a planned neighborhood development, you still have to go through the entire rigorous program or process, I should say, with the town's input at every level, essentially. When the town could decide at any point to be like, no, we're pulling the plug on this. We don't like it. So
it's just a big risk, essentially, right, for the investors.
To the developer?
Yeah, to the developer, because there's so many.
Yeah.
It's not a cut and dry, follow this and it'll get approved. We could get everything done, contractors signed up, architect plans, all of that, and then the town can say no.
I think that's the way it should be, though. We just went through this with a lot in town where we were trying to change code to allow us to do this development on this 12-acre parcel or whatever. I think it was 12 acres.
Okay.
And the problem was that the town's just not ready for that. The public is not ready for it. The public saw development, and they were like, nope, no one wants development. They just see Ryan Homes being developed there.
Right.
And then changing the code to allow for smaller lots is not popular right now. So but you have to have a developer who has a full plan in place and is willing to say, this is what we're gonna do, and willing to go through all the steps necessary to get there. And yeah, it is a big investment, but it starts from the beginning as here's the plan. And no developers are willing to do that because they know that the town's never going to change. Well, I shouldn't say never going to change, but they're not willing to go through that process. The only people that are willing to go through that are local builders, local developers here who we should be supporting.
Yeah.
It's like if we want to keep Ryan Homes out and all those big developers out of here, support the local developers in our area who are willing to take on these risks and do this and live here and want the same thing that we want. The town has to take the risk too.
Right.
It's a risk for everyone involved, but it's like, that's why planned neighborhood development, in my view, is the way to go because it's the most restrictive and involves both parties putting up a risk and commitment the entire way.
Yeah. Do you think that the people that are opposed, are they opposed because they just have this image in mind of the Ryan Homes, of something that's like, is it an aesthetic thing? Like, oh, this is going to be ugly? Or is it, more people? Like, what's the holdback? Because I think my holdback would be, oh, it's going to be ugly. I've done construction on a lot of these buildings, 2-year-old buildings, plumbing's terrible, drywall's cracking, paint's terrible, cheap, horrible. Like, it's just awful, not well built. I don't want that because it's just crappy. Then the rent drops. Then you have bad tenants, and then it's just abandoned. It's just that I don't want that.
Right.
But I don't think that my response is. I guess I would say my response is I don't want it to be ugly, but I don't really have a problem with more people living here because, at least in my mind, they're already going to be living here somewhere.
Right.
So whether it's in a house outside of town or whether it's an apartment building in town, it doesn't really matter to me a whole terrible lot because they're going to be in town regardless. They're coming to the shops, they're coming to the churches, they're walking down Main Street. So why can't they have an apartment building that's closer if it's a pretty building,
Well, I think the answer to that is in a planned neighborhood development, the restrictions go down to the materials you use and the facades and how you build them. So the town actually has a say on all of those steps.
So do you think people just don't know that the town has that much influence?
Yeah, I think the biggest concern that most people had on this particular project was we amend the town code to allow smaller properties to be developed, planned neighborhood development. We're opening up our town to
whatever developers
want it, which is just not true because all you're doing with changing the code to allow those properties is to allow those properties to be considered for planned neighborhood development. They
Okay.
still have to go through the
Still
entire
to be
process.
considered,
The town
right.
council has the end, like they are the last say. So they could cancel it at any point if
Right.
they feel like this is not going the way we want to go.
Not to mention, you still have to have the
So-
10 acres, right?
Right now. So that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like our argument was like allow these other properties to be considered, because then we can actually propose like here's our plan for it, and you can still say nope, we don't like that. It's not opening it up for
interesting.
by right development.
Right.
If it's solely planned neighborhood development, so Ryan Homes can't come in here and take a planned neighborhood development and decide to like, let's just build a bunch of suburban homes. No, it's a planned neighborhood development. You have to have a certain amount of commercial, and you have to have a certain amount of multi-unit and boutique hotel or something like that. The town has that say. So, I mean, I only see that as people were not understanding or misunderstanding what the what the reality was on the ground, which was this is not opening it up to unfettered development in any way.
Yeah.
It's a step, sure, but you have to take that step. I mean,
Yeah,
and,
right,
and
exactly.
at the same time, it's like, I mean, you're pointing out, I don't want to have a bunch of ugly buildings there. I agree, I don't. But like, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
It sits there, or in this particular neighborhood, you can still develop it by right and put 20 suburban homes on it.
Sure.
We didn't want to do that because we know A, we don't want to. B, we want to invest in the town and make it we want to conform to the strategic plan that exists right now at the town at the town, which is this conforms with the comprehensive plan. Why shouldn't we be able to do this? So, I think a lot of it has to do with getting out in the public and educating the public on what this. Like we're actually all on the same page here. We all have the same concerns.
Right.
How do we answer that? And I feel like this is a good answer to this. And a lot of people, I think, people I know agree with that, but a lot of other people just see this as unfettered development, and it's not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you kind of see both sides. Like you see how if this is going to happen anyway, we'd rather it be us building the buildings rather than an outside builder. So at least it's local, and then I can say I hate that guy, but he's local, rather than this huge company that you're never going to talk to them, and it's just out of your control. They're just dominating the area, building suburbia everywhere.
right.
But at the same time, I do understand the not wanting to change things. Even if you understand that eventually it will change, I can understand, particularly some of it's probably location too. Like I have a nice house and I have a nice backyard, and they want to buy this lot and put an apartment building, and I don't like that. I'm not saying it's a good argument,
Right.
but like you can see where that particular person is coming
Sure.
from. But in my mind, based on what you're saying, is that, well, that lot is going to be developed somehow. And it's either going to be a bunch of homes or it's going to be apartment buildings.
Right.
So it like the idea that it's never going to change is unrealistic. Pragmatically, it's going to become something, and it's really just a question of what.
Right.
Like, do you want it to become local builders doing an apartment complex, or have some restaurants here, or is this going to just turn into housing? It's going to be one or the other in the next 10 years.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
presumably. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's what it seems like the scenario.
No, I
is.
agree, and I think these smaller lots will be developed with maybe a couple homes instead of an apartment or something, apartment building or something like that. But then that's still are increasing our real estate values even higher, and it doesn't answer the problem we have of no housing. We need housing right now, so it's like that doesn't answer it. Let's just develop these lots with single family homes. It's like, well, then we have several single family homes when we need 100. So
Sure.
So yeah, I mean that's why I think it has to be approached by a reasonable, realistic, like, how do we find a middle ground?
Yeah.
And I agree. I see both sides. I don't want to have an overly developed town, but at the same time, like a lot of the concerns people have are traffic, big apartment buildings that look ugly, things like that. Those are all things that can be fixed. let's take the data centers as a good example, I think.
Yeah.
Because all know that we have a water problem here.
Right. It's not like the data center is not going to use water. Yeah.
We all think, we all have this idea that data centers are ugly and are emitting things and things like that. So first of all, number one is go be informed. So like they had 2 informational sessions here where the data centers came out and presented to the town. Here's what we offer and here's what we could do. So number one is, how do we answer the water problem? We'll invest the millions upon millions of dollars in upgrading the water system here. Like they have plans for how do we get more water. Then people have well, you're taking a bunch of water. How does that help us? Well, they actually put like 60, 70% of their water back into the water system, and they have to treat it to the same standards that Front Royal is treating. In fact, data centers right now, and the data centers that are proposing here in town, would treat it to a point that's even better quality water than what the town is. So
because
it's like,
they have higher standards.
They have higher standards.
Okay.
They say, no, our standards are here, yours are here. We have to meet your standards, but we go here, and we're actually putting about 60, 70% of the water that we take back into the water system. Now, I don't know if that's still perfect in any way, shape, or form, or if that still could have it be a health hazard or anything like that. But they had pretty realistic, informed, knowledgeable answers.
Well, the big thing is them wanting to invest in a water system, because that's kind of a win for everyone.
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna be here and take our water, you sure as heck better
make it better.
Invest. And we don't have the water to do this. Can we? Their answer is yes, and here's our plan for that, and we're the ones paying for it. So to me, that's like, okay, all right, well that's worth considering.
Yeah.
So most people don't go to these informational centers and hear this, so they just automatically just assume like, well, they're going to take it. This is how much a data center uses. Just one data center, a standard size, uses this. Well, we don't have that, so they automatically are like, well, no data centers. Well, it's like, well, hang on,
right?
Because we have a water problem and we need to fix it. They're saying they could pay for this. Is it worth one data center? Maybe, so.
Yeah, and I guess you can also think about, I know nothing about what they pay, but if this data center would create 1,000 new jobs, and not only is it 1,000 new jobs, but it's 1,000 jobs with benefits that pay, let's say it's 60 or 70K starting salary or something like that. Maybe that's too high, maybe it's too low, I don't know. Could that be a bad thing? Sure, but also, if they're going to come, if they're going to bring water, if they are going to be far enough outside of town that it's not going to be, there's not going to be, either pollution or at least, just the ugly presence of a data center building in town.
Right.
And they're bringing jobs and they're high paying jobs. How is that really bad for the town?
Right.
Now, there might be a good argument for it. I'm not really taking a side one way or the other. But I do think that's a real.
Is there a location?
Right. Is there
not? Then there's no location. Is
right.
there an actual location that could provide, like the 522 corridor is probably a good example of this because most of it's industrial anyways.
Yeah.
It's like, that makes the most sense. Is there a spot available for it? No?
Right.
Well, then that answers it. Or yes? Okay, then let's consider it.
Sure.
Or is it bringing jobs? Or, one of the biggest benefits is the tax incentives. Like, they're paying a significant amount of tax and investment into the town and the county. So that's something to consider. So,
yeah.
But that's why I'm like, I'm not one way or the other. I'm just saying, like, I don't automatically say, nope, no data centers because of what I heard from Fox News and whatever, ABC or something like that. It's like, no, go to them and talk to them. They came out here twice. Like, half the battle is just like, instead of being on social media, like listening to what everyone's saying, go talk to the person or the... You
don't get all your information from what's up Front Royal? Come on, that's the source of all truth.
I mean, like, what you will, either you'll change your opinion or you'll hold it, but you'll be able to actually have that argument with that person in person, and at least you'll be well informed to make that decision. But that's my problem. I feel like most people are not doing that, and so I showed up at both of these informational sessions, and
a lot of people that had opinions about it weren't there.
All the people that had an opinion about it were not there, or the ones that were stated these are the issues, and they had answers for them, or they might not have had answers for some of them, and it's like,
Interesting.
There you go.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. But like, that's where I learned. I'm like, oh, because my idea of the water is one of the biggest things. Like, I was like, oh wow, they stated, I can't remember how much they stated, like the amount of investment money, like we're talking tens of millions of dollars they're willing to spend, and they've looked at the area and found out like this is the answer to the problem,
right?
And we're willing to invest in it. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I would imagine a lot of towns our size, especially close to DC, are kind of going through that where they're like, do we take the short-term hit of having an ugly building or having, 1,000 or 2,000 random people who are techies move to the town? Is that a bad influence for the town? Is that a bad move for the town? Right. Or is this actually the answer to our prayers because we can get a new water system and a bunch of new good-paying jobs, and then those people can afford the nicer restaurants, so we can have nicer restaurants, and then, you kind of keep... Which way does it go? I don't know if there's a way to know exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a balance there too. I mean, and just bringing up like the jobs, like data centers do not bring a lot of jobs because they very low maintenance, don't need people on site, very few. So it's like you're not actually offering a lot of jobs. But actually, for some people, that's a good thing. You're not bringing 1,000 people here. Sure. You're bringing very few people here, but you're bringing a ton of investment and a ton of tax dollars for the town of Front Royal to invest in us. In
the town, yeah.
And so... that's where I see like, I think that, no one wants, I think most of us can all agree, no one wants big suburban neighborhoods here. So in my view, the answer to that is tourism development. Like, so investing in tourism. Nice. Is this our,
is
this
our
Snoop break?
Dogg? Yeah.
Is this the ad?
I think so. Yeah. Sponsored by.
Yeah. So the answer to that is investing in the tourism industry and the industrial industry, small and all you need is a little bit of industrial development, not a lot, that can help pay for, half these dilapidated buildings that are on, or give incentives to businesses in the area to thrive. So.
Yeah. You want to take a quick break? We'll come back and talk about Artifex.
Sounds good.
All right, let's do it. We'll be right back.
Do you want to encounter Jesus in the sacred scriptures? You want a qualified teacher faithful to the magisterium to help you understand Scripture better? You should check out scriptureandtradition.com. Dr. Liebisch is a Catholic convert with a double doctorate in ministry and education and has been teaching Scripture to parishes and schools for over 15 years. Become a member with either a monthly or annual subscription, and you'll find an audio library of over 170 hours of Bible studies that will bring the Scriptures to life. And if you're not sure if you want to join right now, check out on the website his free course on the road to Emmaus. Encounter the incarnate word in the inspired word at scriptureandtradition.com and use our promo code DVPOD for 10% off all memberships. That's promo code DVPOD for 10% off all memberships.
Do you ever have a craving for Italian food? If that's the case, you should check out Osteria Maria's here in Front Royal, Virginia. Osteria's is where authentic Italian cuisine meets heartfelt hospitality. From Neapolitan wood-fired pizzas to handcrafted pastas and curated wines, each and every dish reflects true Italian tradition. We actually had the owner, Chef Biagio, here on the podcast, episode 42. Give it a listen. Osteria Maria's is where Italy comes to the Shenandoah Valley. Come join for dinner Tuesday through Saturday, 5 to 9 p.m., and visit osteriamaria510.com to make a reservation. And be sure to follow them on Instagram at osteria.maria. Cheers. All right, we are back here with Ben Ferri. We've been talking about Canadian politics and housing developments for most of this. So we're going to transition a little bit, and we're going to have some bourbon while we do that. So tonight, as our normal arrangement, we're going to have some bourbon. This is Booker's. It is made at the Jim Beam Distillery. I've only had it one time before. It's a little bit higher end, but today's a big day for the Catholic Church, and so we're celebrating. It's got kind of an interesting bottle. It looks like a wine bottle to me, like a white wine bottle, but it's got a black wax on top, a little medallion underneath the wax with a B on it. It is, 62.85 alcohol content, so it's 125 proof, so it's fairly strong. and it's aged 7 years, 2 months, and 4 days. And I believe typically I've seen these go as high as like 110. I did not spend that much on this. It was on sale for 80 something. But it's a good bottle.
Well,
so
thanks, Pope Leo XIV.
yeah, exactly. This is not you. No, I'm just kidding. I try to treat my guests, but this is mostly for the Pope. But you get to reap some of those benefits. So
Lucky me.
have you had this before?
No, I'm
right.
not. I'm gonna look at that. Look at that.
Yeah,
bottle.
it's nice. It's I've heard people say that it's very similar to Blanton's, which is not made at the same distillery. That's at the Buffalo Trace Distillery, but similar tasting notes. A little bit sweeter, but it is a high ABV. So just drink slow. But cheers.
Cheers.
All right. So in this second segment, we're going to be talking about Artifex. So I mentioned it in the bio, but that was like an hour and 45 minutes ago. So let's talk about Artifex, how it started, what Artifex means, and it's good.
This is great.
Yeah. I think the first time I had this, I was like, it kind of tastes like an Irish whiskey with how smooth it is, but it kind of hits you in the back of the throat like a rye, and it's a bourbon. So it's kind of elusive.
It is.
But yeah, it's good. I like it. It's got a very one of the tasting notes. I was looking up the tasting notes earlier, and one of the sites I was looking at, it says that it has a really strong butter smell. I don't think it really has a butter taste, but the smell is like very buttery.
Yeah, I definitely agree. This is very much reminds me of an Alberta rye. Where if an Alberta rye was mixed with a bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watered down with bourbon. Yeah. So yeah, I would recommend it. It's a good port. It's kind of a nice in between because I don't generally like to drink scotch during the summer. Like it's just It's a little too heavy, especially if it's peaty. It just doesn't feel like a summer drink. And rye can be good in the summer, but typically I'll do it with like an old fashioned. Right, so it's it's still strong, but you've got the citrus and it's watered down a little bit by the ice. This is definitely strong, but I think it's still in that category of being a sipping bourbon, which I like.
Definitely.
But it's pretty complex. It's a good cigar bourbon.
I agree.
So yeah, enjoy.
Yeah. So
Artifex. Tell me about it.
So yeah, I mean, Artifex was founded by these four guys, and the point of Artifex was essentially a business network for Catholic men in the area. So they called it like the Young Catholic Men's Business Network, and they came up with the name Artifex, which in Latin different variations, but it's essentially like craftsman is the meaning of Artifex.
Like artifact.
Artifex.
No, but like, does it come from the same root as artifact? Like,
to be honest,
like
I'm
to
not
craft
sure.
something? No,
I should know this.
I could be totally off.
I didn't choose the name. So
You don't have to defend it. You just have to promote it.
Basically it is centered around a monthly meeting where you have a speaker who gives a talk, a variety of topics, mostly business related in some way, or at least that's what it was. And then you had the opportunity for networking and social. So I was aware of it before I even moved here. So when I would visit my in-laws down here and it was happening, I would go to the events. I enjoyed it because it was like a chance to get out, meet guys who are in the area, other Catholic guys, listen to a good talk, and socialize. And most of the guys that went there, that's what they were going for. And there was obviously the business element to it, but it wasn't really, that didn't take like primary place. So that kind of was the setting for several years. And then, the guys, one of the guys in particular wanted to change it to like a morning event, and they wanted to make it more of a commitment and membership based and do community events and things like that, like be out in the community. And it just
kind of like Knights of Columbus.
Yeah. And so it just kind of like, guys were not interested in that. They were mostly interested in just getting in, a network essentially and having fellowship.
Yeah.
And then, two of the other guys were like, well, this is just getting too busy for us to run. So they kind of dropped off. And then my friend Ben McMahon kind of took it over. And he and I kind of took it over as like, well, let's keep this going because we enjoy doing this once a month. It's fun listening to guys from the community who are usually, ahead of us in some way, life experience, business experience, who can kind of give their take on things and experience on things. So we've, back then I can just point to like two events in particular. One was the real estate investing talk by Steve Lee. And he just talked about his experience investing in real estate over his lifetime. And he had, done an amazing job, owned hundreds of properties. And so he just gave his take on it. And like a bunch of us guys were all fired up by it. Like, wow, this is really cool. I had never heard of real estate investing. And so at that point, that was my first like experience, like hearing about real estate investing. And so a bunch of my friends actually started businesses, investing in real estate from that. And that talk is what made them actually start investing in real estate. And you know a few of them, like who, now own like, 20, 30, 40 homes or something like that. And another one was a panel of like older dads who the topic was work-family life balance. So those were two really well attended events where guys came out because they really wanted to hear this this experience from these older guys who were all in their probably late 50s, early 60s, not that old, but like old enough to where their kids were grown, and kind of give their take on like how they manage the work-family life balance. So we just kept that going because we really enjoyed that. People really enjoyed that. They liked the idea, just the opportunity to get out and network and socialize with other Catholic guys. So Ben McMahon left back in 2019. He moved across country, and I was like, well, it's left with me. I'm going to keep this going because, number one, I just enjoyed doing it. I was like, I really want these events to keep going because, I've just seen over the years, businesses that have started because of Artifex, conversions. People, friends of ours who invited to these Artifex events who kept coming and ended up, converting to the faith. Cool. So I just saw all this like good stuff that came from these events. And also just guys were always like, wait, what happened to these events? Like when Ben left and then we kind of took a pause, everyone was kind of like, well, what happened? So I was like, well, let's keep this going. This is great. So I started, all of a sudden I found out like, oh, this is really hard to find someone to speak, find a place where we can actually hold the event.
Right. Find sponsors to pay for the event.
Sponsors to pay for the event because we offered, beer and drinks. Guys would come out and have a beer and sometimes we'd go late into the night and guys have, good deep conversations. And I was like, I want to keep that going. So yeah, all of a sudden it became this kind of like drag, almost like, it wasn't as fun anymore because I have to find a speaker and that takes a lot of time and effort. So I was struggling with that in 2019 where I was like, I'm trying to keep my business going. Maybe I shouldn't be spending so much time on Artifex.
You were dealing real estate at this time.
I was doing real
right?
estate at that time. That's when I actually joined Keller Williams, was in 2019. And that's where my business really took off. And I just remember talking to my coach at the time being like, I've got this event that I try to get organized, and I think it's just such a drag. It takes too much time away from my business. And he was like, wait a second, what? And he's like, explain to me what happens. And so I explained, I'm like, yeah, we have an average of, at that time, we had an average of about 50 guys that showed up each time. And he was like, Ben, you're a real estate agent. Like, this is your business. It's relationships. That you're not there to sell real estate and all that. Like, in real estate, people choose an agent who they know and trust. So the more people you know and the more people who know you and know what you do and trust you, the more your business is going to thrive. So like, embrace this as something that, you enjoy doing and because it's a good thing for your community, and business will come from that. Like, don't worry about the business part of it. Mm-hmm. Worry about doing this because it's a good thing. And it's it's building relationships and doing what you love. And it's directly involved in what you do in real estate. So I was like, great. All of a sudden, switch flipped and I was like, okay. So, that was back in 2019. So, I mean, it hasn't been super consistent, but, I started kind of making an effort to reach out to guys who can come out and give good talks on good topics. And the three main topics are, business is one, entrepreneurship is a popular one, and then spiritual talks, like just on the faith, and then just personal development type talks, like the guys who came out and talked about family work-life balance. Like those are the things that people want to hear about. So now, and fast forward to now, I mean, you've been to some of these recent events. I mean, we've had over 100 people at some of these events, and people keep asking for more. So the challenge right now I'm having is like really defining like what are we trying to achieve with Artifex, and then also like really going after like how do we get some good topics out there. The speakers are key to the events being successful.
Yeah, I was going to ask what is the key marker in the event success? Is it primarily the speaker, or is it also attendance? Is it kind of like a dual?
Yeah, so it's a diverse group of people. So the age range is like 20 to 80. I mean, I would say the core people that are showing up are in their 30s to 40s. That's the kind of like the core group. But there are definitely a bunch of older guys that come to this and enjoy coming to it. And there's a bunch of younger guys that come as well. Everyone has, I mean, I surveyed everyone at one point a couple of years ago. It's like, what makes the biggest difference to you? Like the topic and the speaker, socializing and having time for fellowship, business networking. And I got kind of a mixed survey of like, hey, if the speaker makes the number one difference to me. If it's not a good topic and not a good speaker, I'm not coming. Yeah. Others were like, hey, if I know other businesses,
there's free beer, I will be there.
If there's free beer, I will be there. That was definitely the number one thing, was like, I just want to have a chance to come out, hang out with the guys, have a beer in this kind of an environment. Yeah. That was probably the most popular, like, we'll come to an Artifex because it gets us a chance to come out and for fellowship. That's what I call it. It's like, well, that's fellowship to me. So that's why I say it's an opportunity for networking and fellowship. And especially here in Front Royal, where the Catholic community has grown substantially over the past 10 years. And we've had hundreds of families move here in the past 5-10 years. And I see this as an opportunity for them to plug into the community, for men especially. I mean, because it's a men's group. Right. To plug into the community, to get, established in the community. This is one of those opportunities to do that. I think the parish right now is doing a much better job than it ever has been of welcoming new families and figuring out how do we welcome them in and get them plugged into the community. But at the time, 5 years ago, there wasn't really anything. And so this was really a great opportunity for guys who were moving to the area, didn't know anyone, to meet other guys and build friendships, build relationships, network, etc. So that's, now I'm just kind of faced with now what's the next step with Artifex? And it's not necessarily changing anything dramatically, but really kind of being more intentional about and planning out, like reaching out to speakers, number one, because that, I mean, just looking at the numbers, that has the biggest effect on attendance. And then, making sure we have a great location for people who want to, a central location is where I see it. Like most people will show up if it's a more central location. So that's a bit of a challenge. I've been just experimenting with this. I don't have a system and process necessarily in place. It's just like, all of a sudden, I'm in a conversation with someone. I'm like, oh my gosh, you should be a speaker at Artifex. Or I just like take the time to reach out to people. Like there are several people I could mention who I would have thought would never either come to Artifex or even reply to me if I sent them an email or a LinkedIn message. And I just did it. And I was shocked by the responses. I would get responses from people who I was like, wait a second, this person's relatively famous and they're responding to me right now. And they're maybe they're not going to come out to Artifex, but they're actually responding. So, I'm right now trying to have more of an effort to reach out to those people. So my next steps are trying to put together a team who will help me actually accomplish this by let's have a team who will, focus on getting good speakers, a team who will manage the events itself, a team who will reach out to the community and make sure we're
Right.
getting the word out
Right.
to all the new guys who are coming to the area, all the new men who are in the area.
Let's go through each one of those segments. What is lacking? Obviously, on your part, it's probably just time. But if let's say you get a group of 5 guys together, you have a committee of sorts, and they're the Artifex speaker committee, and they're tasked with finding 12 guests for the upcoming year. What's the major problem they're faced with? Is it scheduling, or is it money, or is it trying to figure out, like, what do people want? Like, do they want a Navy SEAL? Do they want a priest? Do they want an ex-convict? Like, do they want something that's shocking, or do they want something that's like kind of familiar but they're famous? Like, are we trying to, like, what's the vibe, or is it just money? Like, we can get anyone we want if we have $100,000, but we don't have that, so then we're limited by that factor. Like, what's the big setback in getting a quality speaker in your experience?
Yeah, good point. I think it's a combination of those. I would say
Okay.
it's probably not the reaching out and connecting with the speakers, because when I put in the effort, I do have
You can get people.
success, but then I'm left with the next thing is just like, oh, well, we need money. So some of the more successful speakers, or the more well attended events we've had where I've had to bring in a speaker out of town, we've had to pay for their their flights, their travel, their hotels, or
Right.
their meals and things like that. So that right there is an expense, and so that's a challenge. And
Sure.
then others who have expressed interest or said, yeah, we'll come, but we have a fee. That's like, well, I don't have anything. Artifex doesn't have any income right now that can pay for this, and
Right. There's
and
no endowment.
sponsors are willing to do this. Sponsors have been the answer, but we need to provide some sort of value to sponsors.
Yeah.
And I think, and we do. That's why most of our sponsors have been sponsoring in the past. But like, if we want to significantly up the level in terms of, if we're going to have some speakers who cost thousands of dollars just in a fee,
Right.
what are we providing to the sponsor to be able to actually be like, yeah, I'll foot that bill, because what's the answer to that? Because I can, I can get in front of a bunch of guys and tell them what I do for a business. Is that worth it to spend that?
Yeah.
Or is there advertising opportunities, things like that? So yeah, I would say cash is certainly a challenge. And what was the other thing you mentioned? You're like, is it this, or
Yeah, is it a scheduling? Is it a scheduling problem? Is it a money problem? Or I guess the last thing would be, is it someone, like, is it a struggle to find the right person?
Oh, right.
Because if you have unlimited money and you have unlimited open dates that they can come, the last thing is, well, who cares if he's not interesting? Like,
Right.
how do you narrow it? Because, as you stated, you've got this 20 to 80 age group, and maybe that ends up being averaged out 30 to 40 or 55 or something.
Right.
But still, what do those people want to see? Because the 20-year-olds would probably like to see X person, and it's a political figure or a priest or someone that's on social media. But the 50, 60, 70-year-olds might want Lou Holtz, or they want someone that, not that I wouldn't go see him or meet him, but they want someone who's more of their age group, more of their generation to come. So how do you narrow down, like, who, number one, who's coming to these talks? Number two, who do they want to see? And then how do we get them here?
Right.
Like, so in your experience, how do you figure out who's interesting? Is it just who you think is interesting, or do you kind of gauge the actual group?
I right now, to be honest, I'm just basing it off of what are the really successful events we've had with the most attendance, and what was the topics and the speaker.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I would say that probably the younger crowd is what will come out in bigger numbers than the older crowd.
Sure.
Or at least are easier to bring out if you have, but then again, there's been a variety of topics as well. I mean,
Okay.
So Sean Glass is a good example of that. I mean, Navy SEAL works for Echelon Front, Jocko Willink. I mean,
Super
we had
cool.
a bunch of young, 20-year-olds who showed up for that. I mean, we still had a significant amount of older guys show up for that, but I think like that was just a unique, like, oh, it's Navy SEAL. Everyone here is Navy SEAL, and they're like, oh, that's cool. Echelon Front, the younger crowd came out because of Echelon Front. They could have cared less whether it was a Navy SEAL necessarily. And and the topic was on leadership. So I think that might actually have brought out a lot of the older crowd. So yeah, I mean, I think right now the next step for me is to kind of survey. Now that we've got a much better handle on like who's on the email list and who's a part of the list, like can we actually start surveying everyone? Because I think that's the number one thing we need to do again is survey everyone, be like, what are the kind of topics you want to hear?
Sure.
And see what comes out.
Yeah. Also, like, do you know someone that would be willing to speak? Because there's probably people in the community that have connections to big speakers, but they've never been asked to make that introduction, you know?
Yeah. So I think it's a combination of asking our members, I'll call them, even though they're not necessarily members, asking our list, our attendees, like, what is it that you want to see in a speaker? And then getting out to like, just start asking people, like, who do you know? Or asking who had, if we do know of someone who I've just never asked, like, go out and actually make the ask and say, are you willing to come out and talk on this subject? I mean, that's less of a problem, I think.
Okay.
I think we have plenty of people who we can choose from, who I either can just directly, reach out to, or go through, connections that we have here in our community right now who have direct connections with them. So that's I don't think is the issue. I think it's just a matter of doing it. I think it's more of what are people actually wanting to listen, wanting to hear. Who are they showing up for? And then we can target who are those people we need to go after. And then that's just a matter of, in my opinion, finding that connection and asking.
Right.
And then if it's money, then we have
the sponsor.
The sponsors.
It's interesting.
How do we provide value to that sponsor?
It's interesting to hear that because I have a similar, I wouldn't even say it's a problem, but a similar kind of challenge with getting people on the show, but it's different because I don't care what the people listening want. Like I don't poll my audience to say, who do you want to hear? Maybe if we got bigger, I would need to do that. But for now, I'm like, no, I think this person's interesting. And if 1,000 people listen to it, great. And if it gets 2 listens and they're both me, great. Because I'm not going to waste 3 hours of my time with someone who's boring. I want to ask them. I want to talk to someone who's interesting, who I think who would add value to the show, and who is going to have a good time. Like that's all I want. It's really simple. But so in that sense,
no one's going to listen to it.
No one's going to listen to this. I'm not even going to post this. No. But it is kind of, so I do actually have a lot of freedom in that regard because it's not that I don't care about the audience. I just don't care who they want to listen to particularly, because if they stop listening to me because I'm talking to people I'm interested in, I don't care. And if they listen to me because the guests I have, they think I have a good selection of guests, then great. So I kind of have that simplicity in that regard. Yeah. But I do have a similar kind of challenge with like, okay, I have this person, I have this connection. When do we schedule it? How do we find a time that works? Can they come in person? Well, for me, I could do Zoom, but for you, it has to be in person. Like you're not going to really do a Zoom call, presumably, unless it was like a huge guest and that was the only option. But then, ultimately it kind of comes down to, even if they are willing, even if we do make the connection, even if people do want to hear this person, do they have a price? Because if they're fairly well known, or at least even just decently well known, people have speaking fees, even if it's $1,000, even if it's kind of minimal. I can't afford that. So if someone says they have a speaking fee, I don't book them. Right. Now you have sponsors, so you can do that to a certain extent, but you also have to think about the actual event costs and all of that. So is that something that you're thinking about kind of with the more long-term plan of, number one, we need more sponsors, and then number two, can we have kind of like gold level sponsors where we can get these huge guests and we can have 300 people in attendance because we have someone that's willing to cough up $50,000 to get X here.
Well, there's other ways too. So first of all, scheduling to me is not a big deal because we usually have a date. It's usually the 4th Thursday of every month.
Okay.
And so like if someone's like, I can't make that till next year, Ben, 2026 in May. I'm like,
it's on the calendar.
It's on the calendar. No problem. When's the next 4th Thursday of the month? Or if it's like, recently it was, I think Vice Admiral Stanley who was showing up. He's like, I can only do the Wednesday of that month. And I was like, you know what? We'll just switch the date to Wednesday.
Yeah.
No, but the other incentives would be like, I tracked 2 of our speakers who came from Texas. So we flew them up here and all that. We referred them like $150,000 worth of business between the two of them.
No kidding.
And I'm like, that just to me was like, oh, man, we're offering value to speakers as well. Like, I mean, obviously that depends, but it's like, hey, I actually have something to show for this.
What business was it? This like the personal coaching?
One was the coaching, yeah, and the other was marketing.
Okay.
Or I wouldn't call it marketing. He'd probably get very angry at me if I said marketing. It's much deeper than that. Creativity marketing, or
online creativity.
Yeah, like defining your business and
Okay.
brand.
Okay.
So it's sort of branding, marketing,
vision statement type stuff.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So in particular, I think it was like $80,000 worth of business to him.
Wow. Okay.
So, that's where you're like, okay, well,
sure.
they were good speakers, well attended. They weren't famous or anything like that, but it's like we offered them a significant amount of value. Like, how do we harness that too?
Yeah, that's something I've thought about. I'm not the podcast itself is not big enough to do that quite yet. But as you get bigger, if God willing, it does get bigger, that is something where it's kind of this interesting change of when you're small, you're kind of like begging people to come on, or like, oh, I'll just get my friends, or I'll kind of like con someone into getting on. Then you get a little bit bigger, and then there's a little bit more legitimacy. So then people are like interested in coming on because they know a couple hundred people or 1,000 people are going to listen to it, and they take it more seriously. Then when you start getting bigger, then you have sponsors coming to you wanting to advertise on your show, and you have people reaching out saying, hey, I'm promoting a book, or I'm promoting my movie or whatever. I know you have millions of listeners. Can I come on? So it is kind of interesting how you with a podcast or kind of a men's group or something like that, initially you're kind of asking, and then eventually if you play your cards right, you could get to a point where you're giving and kind of like, yeah, sure, I'll have you on to talk about your biography or your history book for an hour. Yeah, that sounds fun. And then they get a bunch of book sales, and it's just like, yeah, I have a platform, sure.
One of the challenges I see with that is like, I don't want to mix the sponsor with the speaker necessarily. So I've had this in the past where like people have approached me like, we would love to talk about this at Artifex, but they're also sponsoring the event. So it's more of a business, kind of like we're going there for a business, but it's like, I don't
we want to invest our business money into this event.
Yeah. Well, they want to be the presenters essentially and the speakers.
I see. Sure.
But they're also advertising essentially. So they're willing to sponsor the event, but also speak. And I'm like, that doesn't work.
You can sponsor the event, but I don't want you to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
That's where it starts getting a little muddied, because you're like,
yeah,
I don't want the speaker to come here to be selling something. I want them to come here and provide, something of value to the audience that's, listening, not here to try to sell something.
Right.
So that's kind of where these challenges come up, where it's like, I don't know how to. I think that's where the sponsors come in. Like, what we need to find a way to add a lot of value to the sponsors, give them a lot of value out of this, so that they're willing to actually foot the bill to do this. So we can not have that with the speakers. I mean, we could still, if it's a book deal or something like that, they'll get money out of it. Like, we still want to be able to offer that to the speakers, but that's not the goal of this. The goal is,
well, it's also a little bit different too, because I think that what you're trying to do, like, yes, is it lining up sponsors to pay for the event so that people have free drinks or people have the first drink free or something? Yes. Are you getting a sponsor to, subsidize the cost of the speaker? Sure. But it's not just that, because if it was just that, you could just track down investors and they'd pay a bunch of money to have a big speaker come in, and you do that. And I think that the key with that is the networking and the fellowship part. And you can't really fabricate that. Like, you do have to have a good speaker. You do have to have a good, you have to have drinks. You have to have the right environment, but you can't really make up the fellowship part. It's who comes to the events. So if you have a bunch of terrible people coming to the events, you could have the best speaker and the best food, and it's going to be a terrible event. So yeah, it is kind of interesting, because you're kind of like building up this community that's already here, but trying to figure out a way to pay for bigger speakers, or at least just get speakers that everyone's going to like, without losing the kind of fraternity aspect of it.
And then that's kind of where I'm like, I don't want to, like, maybe, maybe we I shouldn't be thinking too hard about like getting big name speakers like this. The whole idea behind this is the fellowship and networking for the community. It's like we have a wealth of knowledge and experience in our community right here. And, we can pull from that and people are interested in what their neighbors here are doing. They're, who are in their community. So it's kind of like, there's that balance.
I think it also could be a little bit of both, because that's kind of what I've learned, is because there's lots of people that I listen to, podcasts, or I follow them online or whatever, and I would love to talk to them. But realistically, the chances of that happening with 100 of those people, I might get 2 of them. But if I had the opportunity to get 2 of them, I would still do it. But I can't plan my entire show on social media people or Bishop Barron or Father Mike Schmitz or something like that. Like, as much as I would definitely have them. And if I had someone that was willing to pay for their travel, I would do it. But realistically, that's probably not going to happen. So when that big guest comes, that's great, because I'll get more viewers. That'll be a higher rated episode. I can send that to my friends and family. So I'm happy to do that. But more likely what's going to happen is just, oh, I know this guy. He's super interesting. He owns this company. I'm going to have him out and we're going to talk. And maybe it's not a big episode. Maybe it's a huge episode. But I don't lose the charm of they're interesting. I want to talk to them.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the key, because when you start getting like, well, I'm just going to have this person on because they have 1 million followers and maybe I'll get some more followers, you kind of lose that. And so I think with Artifex, there is a benefit to having bigger speakers, because you can say, Father Pine's coming. You should come. This is going to be great. But you can also say, yeah, my father-in-law is going to speak about X. Right. And yeah, it's kind of like a family thing, but it'll be good. You'll still like it, right? So I think it's okay to kind of play in both worlds a little bit. It doesn't have to be strictly community, and it also doesn't strictly have to be like a Rogan episode for every guest. Because it's not realistic, and I also think that people won't like that. I think they want to hear people in their community, and then every once in a while be like, whoa, they got this guest? That's crazy. Right. I'm going to go, At least that's been my experience. I don't know if that's true,
agree.
But I think it needs to be a little bit of both.
No, that's exactly how it's been. And I think the challenge there, or the stress I have with that, is like, that's where the venue comes in to play. It's like, when we have a bigger speaker come, like we'll use Raytana Vineyards, for instance, for when Father Pine came, and we kind of fill that room. Sure. The last thing I want is have a speaker where only 20 people show up, and we're in a tiny, or we're in a huge room with only 20 people, and so it's like that kind of stresses me out.
Yeah. Well, I think the place on Water Street we were talking about will be great, because
I think it's gonna be awesome.
That can fit a lot of people, but it's kind of a comfortable fit if you're crowded. But if it's small, you can kind of set it up in a way that it doesn't feel awkward. I don't know. Based on the pictures I've seen, I think that's the case.
I've been waiting 8 years. I think I told you for this, for them to finish this building and get it done. And I'm like, this is perfect, because if we got 120 people in here, that's fine. They'll fit. It'll be packed, and it'll be great. And if we had 30 people show up, it's still fine, because it's not a huge building, and it'll be much more. Yeah.
So I'm curious about, at the beginning of this, you said that you were trying to figure out if Artifex was working towards something, or if it kind of was something. And I'm interested in that, because I think about that a lot. Like, is the podcast working towards something? Like, am I going to become, is this going to be self-sufficient? Is this going to be like my full-time thing? Or is the end kind of in itself? Like, I get fulfillment out of having a drink or having a smoke, talking to someone interesting. We have a couple-hour conversation that we would never have otherwise. Like, you don't check your phone. It's kind of a unique circumstance. And even if it doesn't really become something, it's an end in itself, and that's worth it. Or is it like, yes, this is good, but I'm doing this kind of to build it into something else? What are your thoughts on that with Artifex? Like, do you think just plugging away 50 to 100 people, you get speakers, you get sponsors, you go to dinner, you do the thing, people have a good time, maybe it grows, maybe it declines, it kind of, depending on the speaker or the month, it changes. But because the quality of what you're doing is good, that's good enough. Is that what you're thinking? Or do you think that it needs to expand in order to, I don't know, get bigger speakers, have more people involved, tap into the community network more? Like, what is...
That's my struggle right now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure that out.
Yeah, no, that's totally a struggle. Over I have this feeling like I have to be growing this bigger than it is, and I have to have big names come out, and I have to have 200 people showing up, and that should be the average should be 100 people showing up, because we have plenty of guys in this community that that's what it should be. Like, so I feel strongly about that, but at the same time, I'm like, if I could just be, getting just making sure I have a speaker every month, and having the venue and the sponsor, it's like, if I could just do that, like that's right there is like, that's what I should be focusing my time on. I feel very strongly like that's what I should be focusing my time on, is just ensure that these happen consistently. And then I have someone talking, and if 20 people show up, that's fine. Yeah. And if 100 people show up, great. But like, So I guess to answer your question, there is like, I think just starting from that basic level of just get good at what you're doing right now. Do the best of your ability. Get a speaker, get a sponsor, get a venue, and make sure it happens every month. That's what guys are asking for, and that's what they want now.
The consistency.
How many times I've had guys call and like, hey, I haven't heard of Artifex happening this month. I'm like, yeah, I know. Things got away from me, and I never got a speaker, and I've been very picky about the speaker. When it's like, I could easily have just called someone up 3 months ago or even a month ago and just said, can you do this? Yeah, sure. And not worry too much about who the speaker is, as long as it's something interesting, someone in our community, and just provide the event, because a lot of these guys are just looking for the fellowship side of it and the networking side of it anyways. Yeah. So,
right. That's actually an interesting point that I didn't think of until you brought that up, is that part of the event's success is the speaker, for sure. If you have a bad speaker, or they're like, give a 2-minute speech and say thank you and people clap, it's like, okay, what was that? Like, why did I come here? Otherwise, we should have just had like a local happy hour. Right. Like, why do we have a speaker? But if you have a good speaker, that's not going to necessarily make the event, which kind of comes back to, there is that fraternal aspect. There is that community networking aspect. I don't know if that's more important than the speaker, but I would say it's at least equally important. And if it's not equal, it's like a close second, because I think that the speaker is kind of what gets people in the door, at least in my opinion. And from the few events I've been to, like, would I have gone to the Father Pine Artifex if it was Father Joe from whatever parish? Maybe not. But I also knew that a few people I knew were going, and I was like, well, and there's going to, I signed up, so I'm going to get a free wine, and I'm going to bring a cigar, and it doesn't start till later, so my baby is already in bed. So yeah, I'm going to go. And so I actually think that even if it wasn't Father Pine, but I knew that a bunch of guys were going to go, and we were going to hang out and smoke cigars afterwards, I would have been like, even if I hate the speaker, I'm still going to go.
Right.
Like, because people are going to be there hanging out, and I want to go do that. So I'm kind of curious I wonder if the way forward, of course, you need to have good speakers. Keep trying to get good speakers and sponsors. But I wonder if it's almost trying to cater more towards, how do we make the networking better? How do we, like, comfortable venue? Do we have complimentary cigars? Do we have whatever it is that will make people kind of stick around and talk? Because if that's one of the important kind of marks of success of the event, and we're failing at that part, I'm not saying you are, but like, just to take into consideration, because I think that probably I would expect that this is your experience, is that you're focused on the venue, the speaker, are the sponsors happy? Did the speaker, come prepared? And then after that, it's kind of like, all right, I guess people are just talking. But if we can also contribute to, hey, we're actually doing free drinks all night, and there's cigars courtesy of another sponsor. Maybe you have 2 sponsors for the event, or, there's different ways you could mix it up. But if you can start getting 100 or 200 people, because you have this consistency, they know when it is, they know it's going to be a good speaker, and even if the speaker's they're still going to have a good time, And I think having a venue, consistent date, all of those things will help with that. But yeah, I wonder if that's almost the key to it more than the speaker.
I agree. I think the last year and a half, my focus has been on the speaker more than anything, and that's why we lose out on having events,
right?
Because
you can't find someone.
I haven't found someone that I feel like is. Yeah. Oh well, we got Father Pine, and we had 150, 20 people there, and then all of a sudden we've got, Joe Smith, and he's nobody.
Right.
But like, and so I'm like, I don't really want to do that. You know, people aren't going to show up, and I can't stand it when not enough people show up. It's like, well, yeah, no, I agree with you. That's why I'm like, I just go back to the basics and provide a really simple event that's consistent every month, and then you know that you're going to go to it, and you're either who cares about the speaker and have a good time, or you're going to have a really good speaker as well and have a good time. You know?
Almost like the speaker is a bonus and not the central part. Yeah.
Right. And the other thing is like, definitely every Artifex event is different. Like, and what I mean by that is the same people are not showing up each time.
Yeah.
It's a different crowd every time. And so that's what's been so difficult to be like nail down, like, what is it about Artifex? Like, and that's why I focus on the speaker, because I feel like that's made the biggest difference in attendance. But like that's why I think it does come down to like the consistency of it. It's like people will show up if they have the time to show up. If that date's open and they're like, oh, I want to go to Artifex, I care less whether it's a great speaker or not, or if it's a great speaker, it's a bonus.
Yeah.
I think the fact that each group is different is not actually the speaker. It's just there are a lot of guys that want to come to this event and that will come 4 or 5 times a year. They're not going to come to each one.
Do you think that doing a similar event weekly and then having kind of like a big one monthly would change anything? Where there'd be like the guys that could come weekly would come weekly, and you have smaller, more local, kind of a lot more casual, like maybe it's like maybe you have an official speaker, but maybe there's just someone who's kind of like a host. Hey, thanks everyone for coming. 2 free drinks on the house, cigars for everyone. I'm going to give a little 5-minute reflection on something, but like something much more toned down and less formal. And then once a month you have the big thing. And the big thing is what you advertise and what you get out and try to get people to come to. But you actually have like, I don't know. I'm just thinking about this because I'm trying to get this co-working space going.
Right.
And something that I'm toying with is how much do I create events and how much do I just create a space for people to create events? Because I could have a weekly cigar night. I could have a weekly cocktail night. I could have complimentary this and that. Or I could just say, here's how much it is a month to be a member, and then do whatever you want. You can have a poker night. You can use the conference room. You can host an event. You can bring food in. Like, whatever. Like, at that point, it's like it's a venue, and because you're a member, you get priority. Or do you say, we're doing this kind of scheduled stuff where every week there's a different thing going on. We have a poker night. We have a cigar night. We have... I don't know, like different things going on. Is that something you think that Artifex should extend to, where you try to start doing like a weekly thing, because maybe there's certain guys that are always busy that Thursday, but the rest of the month they're free, so they could come?
It's interesting.
I don't know. I'm just kind of toying with that idea of like, would it be better to have like a weekly thing or not? So, I don't know. Because when you reduce it to monthly, you're like, oh, so that's 12 events a year? It's like nothing. Not very many. Like I want to get together more than that, but then you start thinking about the weekly commitment and you're like, well, I can't do it every week. So
I feel like that's totally your age group.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is like, I remember wanting Artifex to happen every week. When I was
for you, like that's a total nightmare.
Yeah. It was like, that was my opportunity to get out of the house, hang out with the guys. Monica knew it was going to happen. When it was going to happen, it was like, okay, we planned for it in advance. Totally fine. And it was like, this is the opportunity for me to be out of the house and get some social time in with the guys and all that. And like right now, like in my life, like I still need that, but I don't need it every week anymore. It's like once a month is plenty. So I think doing something like that on a weekly basis would probably bring out that younger crowd.
Right.
Possibly consistently. I'm not sure. I think the dynamic, I would be interested to see what the dynamic of that crowd would look like if it was a weekly, smaller kind of like, this happens every week and then we have the big event.
Because I used to do, leading up to, we were going to try to open a retail store. We're still going to do something along that line and have a filtration system, be able to smoke cigars in a building. And leading up to that potential opening date, I started doing, I think it was like twice a month. I would have cigar nights. And it was totally random though. Like I would just pick a day. It was typically like Thursday or Friday. And the first couple that I did, to be fair, I did reach out to an absurd amount of people. But like I think the first one I did on St. Joseph's Day, I had like 100 people show up.
No way.
And I was like, there wasn't free cigars, there wasn't free drinks, there was nothing. I just said, I'm gonna be at Manorline. You should come. We're gonna do a cigar night. And a bunch of people showed up. And
what was the age group look like?
It was probably like 20 to 30.
Yeah. Okay.
But I was like, hey, it's open invite. Like, we're not really bringing our wives, but like, bring your friend. And so there were tons of people where I was like, who is this guy? And I'm like, hey, I'm Anthony. They're like, oh, you're the one that is throwing the event. And I was like, yeah, who are you? And they're like, oh, I'm friends with so-and-so who's friends with this guy who you invited. And he couldn't come, but he told us about it. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Because I'm not giving you anything.
Yeah.
But I realized, I was like, well, it's in town. Everyone went to mass, and then they had nothing to do. And there's drinks inside. There's a restaurant, Manorline had food inside. So people just came and got food and came and hung out. And I had some cigars, and I sold some cigars to people, and it was great. And then I did it again like a month later, and like 30 people showed up. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Why only 30 people? It's exact same setup. It's in town.
Right.
So then I started being like, should I start giving away cigars? Should I start incentivizing people? What should I do? And then I was like, no, I think what I'm going to do is just tell a bunch of people about it. And if one person shows up, I'll hang out with them for an hour. And if no one shows up, great. I have an hour by myself. Right. And if 100 people show up, then it's a great event, So I don't really know what the metric to success is with that particularly, but there was something kind of cool about like, twice a month I'm going to do this thing. And if you show up, great. And if you don't, I don't care. Like you're not part of a club. You're not losing money. You're not getting money. It's here. I want you to be able to come if you want to come. And I think there might be an advantage to that. It doesn't have to be part of Artifex necessarily, but with the co-working space, I'm planning on calling it a third place because there's a lot of guys that are entrepreneurs that I'm friends with that don't really work the typical 9 to 5, and they could easily stop their day at 3:30 or 4. And then they're like, well, I don't want to go home because as soon as I get home, I like when I'm at home, I want to be with my family. I'm going to do family stuff, be with the kids. And I don't want to be at the office because then I need to do work. But I kind of want a middle space where there's like Wi-Fi and I can do some personal stuff. And I can light up a cigar and I can meet someone here. But like it's kind of this weird like gray area, but there's no place to do it. Like a coffee shop maybe is kind of the only close solution. And a surprising amount of people that I've talked to have been like, yeah, I would pay $100 a month to go there. Even if I went there twice a month, it'd be worth it. Light up a cigar after work, hang out, get home by 5. Sure. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, maybe I don't need to get speakers and I don't need to have complimentary everything. It's literally just a place. Like I just need an actual geographical location that people will pay for. Anyway, I don't know, but it's fascinating because I think typically people that have 9 to 5 jobs, people that aren't into that type of thing would never do it. But I think there is a big enough community. And actually a lot of it is probably your Artifex community that want that networking. They want to be able to just meet people randomly, run into people, have private business meetings. And Artifex is a way that they can do that. And you're probably doing your events are going to be much better than what I do. Because my thing will just be like, you have the passcode, you can get in. For you, you've got drinks and a speaker, and it's a bit more formal. But I wonder if there is kind of an extension of that could happen.
Yeah,
but I don't know what capacity. Like I don't really know what the need is, to be totally honest.
No, I think you've put your finger on something. I mean, just I think having a place, the location is the key there.
Right.
And like this is a place where people are just showing up and having a cigar or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like a pub.
I wind down from the workday, or you have like some of these entrepreneurs who finish their days at
2 p.m.
They're done at 1 o'clock, and they're like, before I go home, I'm just going to have a cigar and a drink or something like that.
But just think about it.
I bet you would
think about how many
probably
people
have throughout the day, like different age groups showing up at different times.
Yeah, when you think about how many people are retired and want to have a place to go light up a cigar and have a coffee in the morning, and how many people have, a 9 to 5, but they have a clear hour and a half or hour lunch break, and they want to hang out with someone. And then you think about people who go to work really early, but get off at 3 and have an hour or two before they need to go home. Like there's a lot of people, real estate, roofing, public adjusting. There's a wide group of people that work really hard, that make good money, but they don't have a strict 9 to 5. But my experience has been after 6 or 7, then people are like, nah, I need to be home. I need to be working. Right. I need to help my wife. I need to help my kids. But until it gets to be like 5 or 6, I'm free. And I have an hour or two. And whenever that's happened to me, I'm like, well, it's 4:30. Are we going to go to a bar? Like, it's a little early. I don't need food because I'm going home for dinner. So I just kind of need a place, but I don't want coffee.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want this place that I can go to, but I don't know what it is.
So I'm trying to fill that gap. Had this like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And when I mean,
was this at the Mint House?
No, it was like it was shared office space that we had. So it was like before there was 50 roofing companies and everything else like that, and a bunch of real estate companies and all that. It was just like the one roofing company, the one real estate company, one property management company, the one claims.
Oh, is this all? At Marty's place.
That's so funny. You call it Marty's place. It was my place.
Was it your place?
Well, no, it wasn't.
Did you own the building?
We rented it. It was BSM rented this building,
okay.
and we were rented out all the rooms.
I only knew it as Roof Simple when I worked for them, and you had
one
office.
No. That was way before that.
Oh, this okay. This is like, pre that.
This is
okay.
8 or 9 years ago or whatever. We had this office space above where ClaimStar is right now.
Oh, really?
So ClaimStar was BSM Properties. It was Fidman Investments, which was Marty and Federo.
Yeah.
It was Kevin Bailey's company.
Okay.
Which was
construction?
American Dream Restoration.
Yeah, EDR.
And it was Larry Ergo's. I think it wasn't All Claims at the time. It was Fiber Consultants, I think.
So funny.
And I can't remember. We had one other person up there, but it was like those are the only like guys our age and all that age group that were doing any sort of entrepreneur business stuff. And so we all worked in the same building. So then inevitably at like 3:00 in the afternoon or 4:00, like when guys are getting back from sales calls and things like that and winding down, it was like that's where you would have your drink and your smoke or something like that before you headed home.
Go home, yeah.
And I mean that was. So, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is like there's a lot more people like that now.
Yeah, I think so.
And most of them have their own offices for their own companies, and they're not sharing space with others. Mm-hmm. And so having a location in town where all of these people have the opportunity to be like, hey, we're done work. Let's go over to the cigar shop or whatever it is. And
I'm trying
out for an hour or two before
it's kind of a weird thing because I'm trying to fill a gap, and I think that gap exists.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how much of it is just my own personal, like, I would use this. And I'm just projecting that on other people. Or how much of it, I think it's actually a real thing.
I think it's a thing.
Like if I had a place and I said, hey, Ben, it's $100 a month. You can keep your humidor here. You can keep a bottle of scotch up here. It's filtered. So you can have smoke anywhere on this top floor. There's leather chairs. There's desks. There's a couple different options. There's some private rooms. There's a conference room. You can book and have a business meeting. There's ashtrays on the tables. We have cleaners come every week, so it's all clean, nice. There's bathrooms. There's high quality Wi-Fi. I would presume you would use it. Maybe you wouldn't, but like even if you have an office and you could smoke in your office, and even if you could smoke at your home, I still think that people would be like, yeah, it'd be nice to just have a place that's separate. That's not my office. That's not my home, and I can meet someone here. It's a meeting point, so I can have a business meeting. I can buy a potential client a cigar. We can talk about something. We can have a drink.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me projecting that on people, but I think a lot of people would like that, or at least would be interested.
Yeah, a lot of those guys work for guys that don't necessarily want to be hanging out at their office where their boss is now.
Right.
Who's like my age. Who's like, I don't want to do. I just want to go home at this point.
Sure.
So I mean, I could see
I don't know.
all those younger sales guys who need a place to kind of wind down. I could totally see that.
Yeah. Do you when you have business meetings, do you find is it mostly at coffee shops? Is it at people's homes? What is it at?
Either coffee shops or people's homes.
Coffee shops. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Even when I had an office in town, it was like
at a coffee shop.
I preferred to get out into an office or into a coffee shop or something like that, or have lunch or something like that.
Yeah.
So, having a location where
interesting
you could do that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a little bit of a risk, but So the future of Artifex, is this kind of just plodding along, finding new speakers, trying to advertise, trying to get people interested?
Yeah, I
slow and steady.
I think the two options that are presenting themselves to me right now are One is, how do we, growing this further than what it is. And one of the options I have right now is, here's the one plan is you have the events that happen. And at these events, over the past 14 years we've been doing this, we can identify, businesses that have been started because of Artifex, business partnerships that have been started over. So just on the entrepreneurial side of things, let's just say,
right,
there's a lot of like networking going on. So if there was a way to kind of identify like who are those guys who are looking to start businesses or get into the entrepreneurial world, and how can Artifex help them? Well, there's the networking side of things first. But then what if we had a level of coaches, like Artifex sponsored coaches, essentially, who could help us, coach these individuals who are looking to start a business or have an idea that they want to start, get them through the coaching, and then put them in front of the mastermind group, which is essentially like what I see as a group of like 8-10 individuals, high net worth individuals who don't need to network anymore. They're more interested in making an impact or investing. So on just the entrepreneurial side and investing in businesses. Okay. And so if Artifex could provide the venue to identify who are those guys who are interested in that, put them through the coaching to where they get solid coaching on from a Catholic perspective too. Like how do you practical steps on starting a business and being successful in business, but also from a Catholic perspective, like how do you implement a Catholic worldview into your business?
Right.
And then the coaches kind of identify who are those guys most likely to succeed, put those guys in front of the mastermind group, where the mastermind group then decides whether we want to invest in this.
Interesting.
So that's kind of one step that I'm looking at is like, hey, because I've got interest at each of these levels, especially the mastermind group. I call it a mastermind group, but essentially like...
You actually have interest of people that are
willing
high net
to be
worth that want to make an impact.
Yeah, I call this essentially like the Catholic Shark Tank.
Yeah.
So not necessarily invest in Artifex, but are like, hey, if you could pitch us ideas or businesses, let's say 4 times a year, we would show up and we would be interested in hearing, getting pitches, and deciding whether or not we want to invest in this. So that I'm very interested in that, because I'm like, I think that's cool. A really cool idea of like, well, I know just given our experience, there are plenty of young Catholic guys in the area who are interested in building businesses, starting businesses, who just need some coaching and mentorship. We have people who could coach and mentor them. Artifex can be that kind of connector, and then get those coaches to be the ones who are like, these are the ones that we see with the most potential and the most likely to succeed. Great, we've identified that, and we put them in front of the mastermind group who can invest in their business, because they need, most of those guys need the money and the cash to start whatever it is, their idea or their business.
Right.
So that's one kind of avenue I'm exploring right now.
Do you think that undermines what's currently going on with Artifex? Like it changes it too much?
I don't think so. I don't think it takes away from what. So that's why I think number one is I just need to double down on what's happening now. So making the events, so focusing on getting the word out and marketing to the wider community, because we have a list of about 800 people, but we could easily have a list of 1,200 guys.
Sure,
because we have that here. Yeah. So working on marketing to the general community, focusing on adding some sort of value to our sponsors, to being able to willing to put up the money to have the venue and have the events we want to have, and focus obviously on the speakers. So if I can focus on those and get that wrapped up, then I think I can then take the next step of saying, okay, well, let's take it a step further and build this mastermind group that is, sure, they're all there and they're all interested in the idea of how do we invest in Catholic and make an impact. When I say make an impact, like it could be through charitable giving, it could be through capital investment and real estate investment and things like that in the area. Can Artifex be that connector, that vessel essentially to help make that happen?
Yeah.
And so
right. Well, that's the fascinating kind of problem, or at least situation that you have is that you have young guys who, probably a wide spread of people, but young guys who want to start businesses, who have low expenses, hopefully have minimal debt, who are working some sort of job, and they want to be like, okay, just basic stuff like, okay, I'm working a job and I'm 1099. What do I do for healthcare? Do I do a health share? Do I buy into a bigger corporation? Do I just save up money and then if something happens, I pay for it? Like, kind of basic stuff. That's healthcare. What about IRAs? What type of IRA? What type of investment should I do? Should I buy a home and renovate and sell, or do I keep renting and buy a home as a side project? Like, just basic kind of life coaching stuff. You've got a ton of guys that are 20, 25, maybe even close to 30 who are in that category. Then you've got people in the middle who are like, well, I have a home, or I have a few homes, I have savings, I have investments, but I need to figure out how to get to X point. And then you have people who are like, well, I've got grandkids and I've got, right. I'm already building my legacy, but I want to keep giving. And you've got all of them in this group. So how do you cater? Like, obviously the speaker can be beneficial to all those people, right. But the mastermind group you're talking about would be kind of specifically people who are in their, 50s, 60s, 70s, who have either a high net worth or at least are doing okay and have good advice and have the ability to invest in companies. And then you kind of are like blending that with people who don't have money but want to start something, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I don't envy your position. I don't know how you blend all of that together, but there must be a way to do that.
Right. I think just on a basic level, I think the speakers is the answer to the first part of that, which is it can cater to any of those three areas, essentially.
Right.
Just have speakers speak on those topics.
Sure.
I think the mastermind side is, I'm just looking at it purely from the business investment side of it first, because I think that's what most of the mastermind groups are interested in.
Right.
And they're more likely to commit to that kind of a mastermind group, if it's, shares their values and their ideas for like, how do we make an impact on our culture, essentially. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of question.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, for now, the key is just to double down on what we have right now, try to have consistent events every month, and build off of that eventually.
Kind of see what happens. All right, before you go, last thing. You recently partnered with the Francis Real Estate team. What does that mean? Like, are you working for them? Are you independent, but they're involved somehow? And then why did you make that move? And what's the game plan? Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in, you can accomplish more as a team than you can as an individual. So I came to a crossroads where I was either going to build a team, and I kind of had already built a team. I had, I have a buyer specialist, and I have a transaction coordinator, and I had an assistant essentially, but they were mostly kind of part-time. I'd fluctuate between people, but I never built a solid brand and team around what I was doing. I was solely just focusing on the agency part of real estate. So it came to a point where I was like, I know at this point, I either have to start hiring people and build a team myself, or partner with someone who already has, a track record and is looking to expand. That's where Tom came in, Tom Francis. And I wasn't actively necessarily looking for this. It was kind of an opportunity that we both saw. He was looking to expand. I was looking to either start a team or join a team. So it's a partnership. That being said, it's still Tom's brand. So I had to accept Tom's brand on this. And the reason for that is, so what are we bringing to the table? Tom's bringing the brand and the team and the resources behind what he's already built. So he's in a position where he's like, I've kind of maxed out where I'm at. I'm looking to expand this area in particular. I'm looking to expand into because he has a lot of connections to this area. I already am operating in this area, and I've already built up, a fairly substantial client base in this area. he doesn't operate out here. So for him, naturally, this was a good fit. For me, it was naturally a good fit because it was like, hey,
here.
you've already got the operations, the marketing, the client care, which is what I was looking for. It's like, I need my, it's one thing for me to know a lot of people. It's another thing to like keep in constant contact with everyone and
host events
or just, not necessarily hosting events, but keeping in touch and adding value constantly to them and ensuring that they're getting service, essentially.
Okay.
And that's what Tom's team has done exceptionally well. So naturally, it was just, a great partnership where he brings a lot of resources to it, and I bring the client base and the ability to operate in this area. So essentially, it's like a new branch of the Francis Real Estate Group here.
Okay.
And my job is essentially to build that branch.
So your job then hasn't really changed?
No, it really hasn't.
Right. So you're still operating in the same area, a lot of the same clients. So what's the value? You said that they're bringing kind of like client satisfaction, or like what does that look like? Like someone buys a home,
client care.
What's okay?
So, part of my challenge was, what happens after the sale of a house? It's like, in real estate, like it's all about relationships. It's all about keeping in touch and providing value. So it's like you need to have a consistent touch with people. And I just never had that system in place to provide that to people. So the marketing side of it was that,
Okay.
So that's probably the biggest impact that Tom can bring is that he has that. And then the operations side of things, I just want to go out and meet people and talk to people and help them and, try to kind of connect them with whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. Like that's kind of my role. I view myself as a connector, and that's what I enjoy doing. I like connecting people with, and that's why Artifex is, I kind of view it the same way. It's like you're connecting people constantly. And so having the back end, especially on the real estate side of things with transactions and all that, it's like, I don't enjoy the transaction itself. I just care about like, are people getting what they need?
Yeah.
And me providing them with, as much value as I possibly can and get them to that point and that goal. So,
Sure.
So that's where Tom kind of comes in to help kind of ensure that after the transaction's done, it's like we're still providing them with value and we're still, keeping in touch and the transactions themselves are and the operations are smooth.
Right.
And so yeah, naturally it was just a good fit.
Yeah. What's the difference between you owning your own real estate company and working for them? Do they just get a percentage of what you're doing because of the services they're providing, or like?
Yeah. So both
is
of
that
us
all it is?
we split, essentially a certain percentage for each of us based off of the transaction. So nothing's. I mean, up until this point, I was paying for all those services. So I was either, hiring my own people, and I'm not a good hirer. We'll just put it that way. I don't know what to look for in people. I'm not a good manager of people. And so, Tom's team he's an excellent manager of people, and he knows, he's very good at finding those people for the right people for the right job. And I just felt like I never had the time to. I always feel like things need to be perfect before I hit the trigger. So I delay hiring people because I just wouldn't go. I wouldn't take the time to set up the process to actually find the right people. So I never had. Go back to what your question was there, because I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I think I was mainly just figuring out what are the benefits of partnering with a company versus just doing it yourself. If you could make more doing it yourself,
what's the difference?
Yeah, what's the split? Are you just splitting the overall commission percentage, and then they're picking up the slack?
Yeah, he's taking a percentage. I'm taking a percentage. So and the way I view it, I would either be paying out of my pocket for that.
Right.
And
the extra headache.
So he is investing his resources into this, and I'm investing my time into this. But I'm not investing as much money as I would have if it was just me. So naturally it was good. He's already got the resources. He's got the ability to invest in and the resources that I didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could just continue to do what I'm doing,
Right.
which is, the relationship side of things.
Okay. Very cool. And has that already started, or is that starting soon?
Yeah.
Because I know it's like...
Yeah, no, we
you're
started,
on board with it.
I think it was March 1st, I think was our official,
Sweet.
Now I'm still closing out deals and all that from Inform Real Estate, my company before I merged it with Tom's. But all new stuff is through the Francis Real Estate Group. So yeah, March 1st, I think was when we officially partnered. And
has there been a noticeable difference?
oh, a huge difference.
Yeah, I can see that.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
His team is a really good team, exceptional team. It's for me, it's just great because I'm not, even though I had people working for me, a few people, I never felt like they were working for me. Mm-hmm. So now, I feel like with Tom in particular, I can call him up all the time. And I'm like, am I going crazy on this? What do you think? And so there's just this, it's not just on me, it's all on the team now. And so we help each other out. And I'm also dealing with his team. They've been doing this for a long time and they've perfected it. And so
sure.
I don't have to worry about hiring those right people. And they do the stuff that I couldn't do. They do stuff that I can't do.
There you go.
They do it really, really well. All the stuff that I just can't do anywhere near. So they do it way better than I could. It's made it
awesome.
A noticeable difference.
Yeah, that's
right
great.
Away. Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but thanks for being on, and I'm looking forward to all the great real estate deals and all the Artifex events coming up and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.